Hello everybody and happy Saturday. This is going to be probably one of my most train intensive streams ever. So today we are, let me switch over here. There we go. So we're playing Super Locomotive, which has been ported to the Sega Genesis as part of the Genesis Mini 2. The Genesis Mini 2 was an import. It's import only, but you import it from Japan. But the product is made specifically for North American audiences. It's kind of odd in the UK and like in Europe. So basically, if like the original Genesis Mini from like 2019 or 2020, that system is sort of the general audience Genesis. You know, what you'd think of when you think of Sega Genesis. The Sega Genesis Mini 2 is really more for the hardcore connoisseur, the really hardcore game history buffs, and as part of that, they took a 1982 arcade game by Sega called Super Locomotive. Very interesting history because it's, as far as I'm aware, the first ever train-related video game, what could very loosely be described as a train simulator, and it's not a simulation of running an actual locomotive, but it's the first game where you're operating a train, and it is the first game that I'm aware of to have a licensed soundtrack. They took the track Rydeen by YMO and made a chiptune rendition of it. Now, they had to change the music because they didn't want to, or either couldn't or didn't want to license the original soundtrack. So they made a sound-alike version that's a pretty good simulation of the original track. Now, I sort of fiddled with some things in my broadcast software, so I'll be able to play the original track manually in the background. But the sound-alike version they made is more than good enough. And the fact that they bothered to recreate a close enough version of the song without violating YMO's copyright to the original song shows how dedicated they were to bringing this obscure piece of video game and Sega history to the public finally after 40 years. Finally, a Genesis version. There's also some other really more obscure stuff like Crusader of Senti and stuff like that hardcore Genesis Sega game historians will know of, but the general audience probably wouldn't even know exists. Cartridges for like something like Crusader of Senti goes for hundreds of dollars. Now you can finally own an official version of it without resorting to ROMs or emulation or a reproduction cartridge. Though if you do use any of those options, there's not in my book that's perfectly valid. But for those wanting to own it as part of the game's official release history, now there's a way to do it. So, but first we're gonna play some Mario Party to celebrate. Now, actually, I'm not gonna do this too much, but I do want to rewind a little tiny bit because in this part of the video, this next part of this video, I think the train actually derails on camera, which is pretty interesting. I've got all kinds of videos here. This is just flat up Lots and Lots of Trains Volume 1. Hey, Kalaka Boy, happy Saturday. It's still a TSS killer. You still think the best chiptune cover version of Rydeen is from Strikers Run Enhanced on the BBC Master System. TSS killer, you would be the one person to show up to know what's going on with later on, let me pop this up. Later on in stream, you know what this is, TSS killer. You know what this is. Yeah, I figured if it's been up on YouTube for a decade with no one caring, then it's safe enough for Twitch. Yeah, I figured if it's safe enough to be on YouTube for a decade and no one cares, then it's safe enough for Twitch. Now, what I did do is for the Thomas the Tank Engine segments. Oh, I picked up the Genesis controller. I'm using the Joy-Con to play Mario Party here. I'm playing on the Nintendo Switch Online, and I'm using the Joy-Con because my hope is that the smaller analog sticks will make it easier for me to quickly rotate for those certain games. I like how the idea of, like, Mr. Conductor changing from Ringo Starr to George Carlin in a slight way kind of prepped some of us Western kids for the idea, these North American kids, for the idea of the regeneration of Doctor Who, where it's the same character, but it's just been spontaneously replaced. Yeah, after Now, what I did for the Shining Time... Now, I've been playing this a lot on Mario Party Superstars, but this is the first time I've played this map on Nintendo 64 version since maybe 2000 or 2001. So it's going to be interesting seeing a lot of the differences I remember. They really did change how this board is balanced. They changed it to be a little less cutthroat, a little less brutal in the Switch Online version. But the original plot for this board is today. There's a big... Oh, yeah, I keep drifting away from this, but... So for the Thomas the Tank Engine segments, which are actually possibly going to get copyright hits, what I did was I found narrations for the Railway Series audiobooks read by Michael Angelis, that with the original Railway Series illustrations, like, edited over it in time with the relevant parts of the narration. So I edited that into the Shining Time Station episodes over the points where the equivalent Thomas episodes would have been in. So that's how I think. And considering I streamed the entirety of Animorphs, which is available for pay on Amazon, I just streamed it off of YouTube, just blatantly, and didn't get any trouble. I didn't even delete the VOD. So I think we should be pretty good for an obscure, public television show from 30 years ago that hasn't even been released properly to VHS, let alone DVD or digital. Today there's a party. It's the top of a big birthday cake, and this is the way I'm justifying this is the birthday cake for Super Locomotive's 40th anniversary. Oh, and by the way, I did buy the Genesis Mini 2 mainly for the Genesis port of Super Locomotive. There's at least one other person who did buy the Genesis Mini 2 specifically for Super Locomotive. Get out the way, idiot. That was... Okay. That was close call there, mister. I mean, I gotta be fair to him. This is probably like a really obscure freight line or a heritage line that only runs a train like once a month or something like that. But still, when you're coming up to... Unless the sides of the tracks are explicitly overgrown and there's no way a train is getting through there, if you're driving up the tracks, you stop and look. Alright, but anyway. Big birthday cake. It looks delicious, but it just doesn't have enough decorations. Everybody, add more decorations to the cake and help finish it. Use strawberries to decorate it, and something good may happen. Now then, let's decide turn order. Hey, I like getting... I'm playing as Luigi. Oh, Anime NYC next weekend. You can't wait? I really took a lot of things for granted, having formerly lived in the New York City metropolitan area. I took being able to just hop on a train just for the heck of it whenever you wanted for granted. I took having New York Comic Con, Long Island Retro Game Expo, like all that, Anime NYC, all that kind of stuff. I just really took it for granted. Now, I did vividly appreciate that at the same time. The night, my last Long Island Railroad ride before I moved away, and I knew it was going to be my last run into Manhattan. I got to ride home on, I got to have an M3 ride on my way back into Long Island. And I was like, oh, this is like the universe is set this up just for me. I rolled up just the right RNG to nail an M3 ride. Because I didn't know how soon I'd be able to get back, or I had no idea what was going on, or how soon I'd be able to get back, or if I'd be able to get a chance to ride M3s again. At least on the Long Island Railroad. Specifically Long Island Railroad I'm talking here. So, yeah, it was nice. I really savored that experience. Yeah, so... Yeah, I heard a little of that. That they're heard... it's funny. If they were gonna... I thought they would have sent the M3s back over to Penn Station. I would have thought just for some kind of weird publicity purposes, they'd sooner want the M3s back at their older station. Because I imagine they might be getting a certain amount of newer riders coming into Grand Central who otherwise didn't really have much of a use for Long Island Railroad before that. So I thought they would have wanted to have more of their best stock down there. down there. If you're unfamiliar with the New York City metropolitan area railroads and unfamiliar with Manhattan geography, this conversation means nothing to a lot of you, so I apologize. But hey, I mean, my moniker is Super Train Station H, so it's I mean you're kind of asking for it. But yeah, man, I've been going, you probably saw a little of it on Twitter from some of the stuff that's been forwarded from Tumblr. Looking at, like, pictures, if you look at a photograph, I'm looking at Long Island Railroad photographs from, like, 98, 99, and it's really freaky, because if you look at, I'm looking at, photos from, like, the Montauk line, from, like, 97, 98, 99, and that does not, okay, it was only, like, 20 years ago, right? Those photos make it look like that was from 40 or 50 years ago, and it's really unnerving. I'm like, I rode those trains. That is, like, and this photo makes it look like ancient history. Now, I know it's some of those, there was a small amount, like, certain of those, I know certain, of those old passenger stock, those old, Pullman Standard cars, some of those were old enough to have ridden behind some of the last steam trains on the Long Island Railroad. So when you put it in that context, it's like, yes, those are old freaking cars. So I remember, like, from the newspapers at the time, there was some, like, MTA official or someone from the MTA, someone from the Long Island Railroad specifically said, "Oh, those cars are so old, they're from the Boer War," which is like, what an obscure reference to make about, like, New York City metropolitan area rolling stock, that they're from the Boer War. Like, not many people, they don't even teach the Boer War in American public school as far as I'm aware. Yeah. Oh yeah, those, because I remember TSS Color's talking about how some of the rolling stock, those diesel lines like Oyster Bay, those Pullman cars from the 60s that smell like cigarettes. And I heard my mom would say that back before they redid the interiors of those cars to try to make them look like the M1s and M3s, that the cars had those reversible seats on them, and that late at night, guys would set those, like, back to back, because the idea was you could face the seats to face the direction of travel. But a lot of guys would set the seats facing each other, and with instead like a plank of wood on their knees, and play cards on the way back. And then back then, of course, you had the bar car service with the red stripe cars. So I guess you have. You're already serving alcohol, you might as well have some cards as well. And see how much money you could lose on a trip from Jamaica to Montauk. You see, the thing about this is that I have the muscle memory. There's a version of this minigame in Mario Party 2, and I've been playing Mario Party 2 non-stop from, like, 2007 when this came out on the Wii Virtual Console up until, modern day. It's one of my main go-to games when I'm streaming. But what happened was that now that I'm playing Mario Party 1 for the first time since, oh my gosh, freaking street running action. They do this same thing on the Shinkansen where the seats are reversible like that. And from what I heard is that they aside from the fact that they wanted to make the older diesel-hauled cars more resemble the M1 and M3 electric stock with those red, white, and blue seats, is that the conductors were complaining because they were actually expected to go through the train and reverse the seats to change into the direction of travel, so west when you're heading towards the city, east when you're facing towards Montauk. But as far as I'm concerned, like, 80% of passengers don't actually care which way they're facing. Most of them just care if they have a seat or not, and if they have a seat, at least so they could get on board. So if anyone actually cares, they're gonna just move the seat themselves. It's a very simple thing to do, because I've ridden some stock that are like that, both at the New York Trolley Museum in Kingston, and also on the Bluebell Railway they had some cars like that. Excuse me, we're talking the Bluebell Railway. So we're in England, some carriages like that. So I don't know if the logic is that you're supposed to... I'm guessing we're all supposed to be ground pounding in unison to try to grow the plant quicker. Now they brought this back for Mario Party Superstars, but they replaced this Piranha plant. I almost said Verona plant. I don't know what a Verona plant is. They replaced this Piranha plant that sort of runs on his vines like their legs. They replaced it with PD Piranha for Mario Sunshine, which annoys me. But Piranha plants are some of my favorite Mario enemies. Yeah, I know. I have a couple of online pals I was keeping up with that were about to go over to Japan right when the health crisis, the global pandemic, took hold. And I know for like I'm not trying to make light of this. Oh my gosh, this is the Vale of Rydal Railway back when they painted. So the Vale of Rydal Railway is this narrow gauge railway in Wales. And it was the last steam-operated line on British railways because this was already being run as a tourist operation. So even though they retired the use of steam in, I think, August 1968, they let this one line continue running with its steam locomotives because it was mostly for tourists anyway. But they actually painted it with the modern paint job of the diesel and electric stock that they were using deliberately to distance themselves from steam-era British railways. So this is kind of almost like something from a parallel universe where they kept operating steam past 1968 and gave their steam locomotives modern colors. And Kalaka Boy's saying that they got their analog pocket finally. It's in your room. You've yet to open the package. Now, those of you who've been following on my stream know that there's been a bit of excitement over with me trying to get my analog pocket to work again. It's sitting there, right there on my table where I keep my consoles. And for a while, I could not get it to work. And I figured out what was wrong. I wasn't using... You should only use... Now, this should be obvious, but it's not, because it's a USB cable. So thinking, oh, USB, so any compatible USB Type A or B or C cable, in this case, USB Type C, should work with it. No. USB-C... Only use the little plug that comes with your analog dock. Only use that plug. So what we've got here... Oh yeah, we've got the... And by the way, I just want to drop the source for all my train videos here today. This is various train videos from throughout YouTube. But this is a trip from... back when they were on the tail end of retiring this is a fan trip for the air-conditioned multiple units, the ACMU cars that they had on the Metro North up into, I think, 2005 or something like that. Oh my gosh, we're going under the high bridge there. I think that was right under the high bridge. That was so cool. Okay, so this is something that... Okay. Yeah, yeah, it would be really stinky to not cite the videos that I'm featuring here. No. Okay. Yeah, so this is running around the line that runs alongside the Hudson River and out of New York City and upstate New York. But the air-conditioned multiple units, they were... You know, by air conditioned, that just means it has air conditioning, and multiple units means that, you know, they're kind of like subway cars, and that each passenger car has its own motors. They're all controlled from the central driving cab. It's not like a sort of train where you have a locomotive that pulls unpowered coaches, if that's what ACMU means, pretty much. And on the Long Island Railroad, they actually decided to take the motors out of these units and use them as static coaches that had to be pulled by a locomotive. And the cool thing about the diesel locomotives that they were using on the Long Island Railroad for passenger trains up into 2000 or 1999 or so is that they're using several locomotive types that are virtually never used for passenger traffic, and even less for commuter passenger traffic. And they're using these old Alco diesels that they gutted as the driving van trailers, or the cab cars, as they call them also. Yeah, heck, TSS Killer, you're doing... If I could have paid someone to show up in my stream to provide commentary, it would be you. You know what I'm finding? I made... Oh my gosh, there are interior shots of here. Oh, this is so cool. Yeah, they didn't do them... I think the ones on the Long Island Railroad, they gutted the seats and did the M1 and M3 style seats. But here these look more like the original seats. Not that I was around when the original seats were in place. This is just based on my own research. Now, the Long Island Railroad is some of... Like, I grew up on Far Rockaway, which was formerly part of the... if you look at on a map, if you look at the Long Island... the Rockaway branch of the Long Island Railroad, and look at the eastern end of the A train on the Rockaway Peninsula, you see there's like a Long Island Railroad station and a subway station. They're like a block away from each other, and it looks like the trains should platform side by side, and they really do need to buy... I really think, especially the way they're trying to push the Rockaways right now, they need to buy whatever land is between that one block interval where they tore down the tracks. They need to have the... It would probably be easier to have the A train extend just one more... like just a few hundred more feet, go down to surface level because it's elevated up to Mott Avenue or whatever, and have the New York City subway platform right alongside the Long Island Railroad. Like, if they want to really push, you know, mass transit the way they are, they want to make it as hard as possible to drive cars into the city, but they want to turn the old Rockaway line into another greenway instead of actually reopening it for train use. But that's a whole other story. I'll get into that. Heck, I remember in the very early 90s, this must have been no more than like 91, 92-ish. I remember the Rockaway tracks of the abandoned Rockaway line. They were still in service enough that I saw a work train running on those abandoned tracks. And I guess they were surveying it or something. They were either just surveying it or just doing... Oh, come on. No, we lost. Yeah, that's one thing. Cooperative multiplayer games. Oh man, it's the old Tappan Zee Bridge. That bridge has been dismantled and replaced with a cable-stayed twin bridge. And they named it after Mario Cuomo, because of course he's gonna name the bridge after his daddy. But I'm not touching that. I'm not going near that. I'm gonna start a fight. I'm gonna get myself stressed out and start a fight, potentially, depending on who may be watching. But and not that I have anything against Mario Cuomo personally, just, you know, but yeah, I think that bridge was supposed to last like 50 years, and or 40 years or something like that. It was almost supposed to be a temporary sort of stopgap bridge, and they just milked it for every day of life they can get out of it. So how this lottery here works is that... Yeah, how the lottery works is that when you get to this branch in the road, if you get Toad, the Goomba frames it as, oh, you lost, you have to go see Toad, or, oh, you won, you get to go see Bowser. Of course, actually going to see Bowser is the bad result. But the Goomba, being Bowser's minion, is going to frame seeing Bowser as the good result. Uh-oh. Kalaka Boy is redeemed remove glasses. So, let's see, how long should I do this for? Yeah, set it for 15 minutes. Yep, so, I'm perfectly fine. I just feel a little naked. Yeah, I got sent to Bowser, but honestly, this isn't a bad turn to get sent to Bowser because I don't have anything to lose. Oh, and I'm landing on the Bowser space. Yeah, so if you land on the Bowser space with no coins, I actually made out pretty good here. Yeah, so basically what removing I see fine. It's like my vision has gone from 1080p to like 720p. I could put those glasses down and not touch them for weeks and not notice and like be perfectly fine. But then the second I put them back on, I'm like, whoa, I can see, like, everything just looks, it's not like I can't see, it's not like everything's fuzzy, it's just that, like, it's just like, yeah, it's not that my vision's fuzzy or anything, it's just that everything just looks better with them on. And it's funny, how I got those glasses is I was at, like, Sam's Club, and they had an eyeglass department, and they had a new system where they would actually be able to have, like, an eye doctor from a remote location be able to perform an eye exam, and then the actual station was just going to be operated by a technician. It was a sort of telepresence type thing. Oh, I missed everyone! I'm only doggone. At least I hit something. Now, Mario Party 2, you bowl with 2 shells there, and you have to hit all the other players in order to win. But in this version, you get to aim with only 1 shell for the players, but you actually steal their coins if you hit them. And because Mario Party 1 has such an emphasis on coin theft, the Koopa Troopa gives you a 10 coin bonus every time you complete a lap around the board. Oh, I wonder if they'll be... Look at that huge video camera that guy has, because this is in, like, the late 90s. Now, I'm interested to see if I hope he gets a shot of Palapel Island and Bannerman's Castle as it stood at this time, because there's an abandoned armory. There was, like, an arms dealer who set up a fortress on an island. The castle was more for publicity purposes. This is in, like, the 19th century. He built a castle on an island and used it to sell weapons to, if in case you need to equip an armed band or anything like that, you can just buy your cannons, your gunpowder, your armor, your rifles, and all that. It was a different age. It was a different age, to be sure. And right after the island was set to become a public park or something like that, but then the castle suffered a huge fire. And they sort of left it to rot for a number of decades, and more of it started to collapse, sadly. And within the last 10 years, like, a major wall collapsed, and finally they reinforced. Hey, Genesis hype. I think that was a Genesis. Wasn't quite looking at the. Now I have I only see the video, the YouTube video up in the corner. My main monitor has the. The main monitor is what actually has the game running on it. Okay, so this is all running good. Yeah, so these single-player minigames are one of the things they definitely... It's fun looking back on them, but it's one of those things they definitely looked back on. They sort of restructured for the better in Mario Party 2. In Mario Party 1, you just play a single player just plays a full-fledged minigame, and everyone else has to just sit and wait. Meanwhile, in Mario Party 2, they replaced this with the item minigames, which were much faster paced and just involved a single player just trying to collect an item to use on the board game map. This map does not have this game doesn't have an item system as far as items you can use on the main map. Now, there are items you could equip, you could buy in the shop, and use to be deployed at random within the game. Now, the timing for this is slightly different. Yeah, the timing for this is different. I'm probably going to lose. Yeah, but let's not be too negative. But I am behind by quite a bit. Yeah, Mario Party 2, I would have got that for sure. It doesn't help that this is the first time I'm playing with the Joy-Con and the Joy-Con grip. Yeah, I'm in talks with a certain company. I know I've mentioned this on and off before. I'm in talks with a certain company that's looking to reach out to smaller streamers. You know, I'm really cautious about things like this because this is one of those things could very easily end up being some kind of scam or a trick to take control of my account or something like that. But the fact that we've been talking for so... I don't want to talk myself out of a good deal, but they're looking to work with smaller streamers. Yeah, Bowser sold me a bootleg cake for 20 coins. Yeah, they're looking to work with smaller streamers, and one of the things they're looking for is, you know, people spending lots of channel points. So I put up just a few redeems just for the heck of it. You know, so if anyone wants to redeem their channel points. Now I have to play the lottery again. Now I can't, I'll have to be absurdly lucky to be able to avoid and able to earn a star. No way. I was hoping I'd have rolled low enough that I'd stop before I got to Toad and maybe have some kind of bonanza windfall in the next minigame. Okay, so... yeah, the happening spots, you could buy a piranha plant and commission it to steal coins and stars from other players. I don't know, this... I gotta say, this, I don't mind, like, for the first year I had the Switch, even when I was playing on TV, I didn't get the Pro Controller until I started playing a lot of 2D platformers. I actually don't mind using the Joy-Con and the Joy-Con grip. Now, I'm fortunate that... yeah, I'm fortunate that I've been, I haven't had any Joy-Con drift problems. Finish. Yeah, I see I have to wait until you get your Mega SG. Yeah, that stinks, but I'm glad you had the opportunity to get one. I want to get the Turbo 16 Graphics Mini, TurboGrafx 16 Mini, which is a system that I do have some history with back in the early 90s. I never owned it, but my family did rent it at least once from the local mom and pop video store. Will Yoshi win? We'll see. Yep, he won. Or he lost, according to Goomba. Yeah, so, I have my next stream. I'm gonna be Wednesday. I'm gonna be playing Pokemon Puzzle League for Nintendo 64 and reading some magazine coverage in Nintendo Power for Pokemon Puzzle League, as well as reading the manual for the game. But on this coming Friday, of course, I'll be playing Pokemon Violet. I have it pre-ordered and scheduled for delivery to my house on launch day. Sometimes it arrives the day before, hopefully not the day after. I have Pokemon Puzzle League set up as a contingency game, so if it's time for my scheduled beginning of the stream and the game's not here yet, I can at least start streaming, and we'll just sort of be crossing our fingers till the game shows up. Now, what I wanted to do, actually, for a long time, what I dreamed of doing was playing... I wanted to play Pokemon Red in the lead-up to Pokemon Violet, play the very first Pokemon game, and then right at the tail end of that, finish it around the time right before Pokemon Violet came out. But then several things happened, one of which was my hiatus period, and the second was the fact that my copy, I didn't realize this, I meant to bring it with me, but my copy of Pokemon Red was in my storage unit in the old region I used to play in, which is a good, like, 7-hour drive away from me, in a different state, in a different part of the country. And my new apartment in my new region is small, and it wasn't quite worth it. I wasn't interested in getting a moving van to bring all that stuff with me when I knew I wouldn't have space in my new apartment. I'd just have to get another storage unit anyway. And I have friends in that other region I could come visit anyway. So I went ahead and just had to put up with the fact that I forgot, amongst all my games, I happened to forget my copy of Pokemon Red in the storage unit. So, only back in September did I finally go ahead, because I went back to my old region once since I moved. Well, the first time I went there since I moved, I just forgot to bring it with me. And then the second time, I forgot again, or I didn't have time to go to the storage unit. I was too busy just visiting friends and doing business stuff. But then what happened was I back in September when I went to the storage unit, and my Pokemon. The reason I forgot most of my game systems, all of my non-HDMI game systems are still back in my old region. Yeah, Super Locomotive. It's a very obscure game. I so far. Okay. Yeah, so far, that's just business-related stuff, but they're gonna have to wait. It's nothing too urgent. Now, I'm gonna need to... Okay, I'm not involved. I have no stake in this anymore. Yeah, so far, since I started streaming in May 2020, every game I've played is either on an official cartridge or... like here, I have the original cartridge. It's on an aftermarket system, but I'm playing using the original cartridge. So I've either played using an original cartridge. Yeah, I was just sitting there on the dock with all my consoles on my desk there. Yeah, all the games I've played are either on an original cartridge or are an official digital version of the game. I prefer to play games in a manner that reflects their official release history. But when the time comes, when there's a game that's extremely rare or otherwise unavailable, I will be resorting to certain preservation methods or preservation efforts which are not part of the game's official publishing history. But Super Locomotive was one of those games I was expecting to have to, use a ROM and play it on MAME to play. So the fact that they actually ported, after 40 years, ported Super Locomotive to the Sega Genesis, part of the Genesis Mini 2, was like, I cannot believe they did this. I otherwise would not have bought the Genesis Mini 2. Now, I do want to get this, the Genesis Mini 2, it's mainly a Japanese product. They kind of did the North American and Europe versions of this system as sort of a favor to the hardcore fans. But it's going to be released in very limited quantities compared to the Japanese version. And this is a system I can imagine being very expensive in the future. Whereas the TurboGrafx 16 Mini, it's only a couple hundred, but it's only a couple of $100 aftermarket to get my hands on it. And that's one of probably the last major purchase or major mini system I'm interested in getting. And there are just a lot of games that I would want. Basically, 90% of the TurboGrafx 16 games I either have personal memories of, or... Is there a channel point redemption for putting the glasses back on? Well, hey, in 30 seconds, I'm putting them back on, because I decided that that's worth 15 minutes worth of, Oh, my controller disconnected. That's funny. Never had that happen before. Yeah, this is one of those mini... I have not played this mini game since Clinton was president. The way, the AI works in this makes it almost... If you're one human player with a computer, it's pretty... This is one of those games that's much better balanced with actual human players. Now, it's funny. These glasses... Oh, yeah, I never told the story of how I got these glasses. So, I was at Sam's Club... They were testing this system to do this telepresence eye exam thing, in this little, like, isolated room they set up with using drywall on the sales floor. And they were looking for people to test it. And before they started charging people, they were giving free eye exams using this system. So I went and did this eye exam, and there were, like, troubleshooting problems with the webcam. They got it all to work, but it's like, they, like, called me over, and it's like, look, I had nowhere to go, I had nothing to do, it was free, I know it's a new technology, so I knew they were going to have, like, teething trouble, so this is why I volunteered to do it, just to help them out. And they actually, I never thought of myself as needing glasses, but they actually prescribed, like, listen, your vision is better than 2020, like, your vision's basically 2020, but there's this prescription we're going to offer you, and, you know, it's going to have the filters in it, so, you know, if you look at screens all day, and when you put these glasses on, you will have better than 20/20 vision. And it's like, okay, and my insurance paid for it. I didn't have to pay a dime for it. And I'm like, okay, I want to get the dorkiest, most utilitarian glasses ever. And in doing so, I accidentally got these really nice-looking, like, Converse-branded glasses with this sort of white stripe on the frame you can see there. And people say, oh, your glasses are so cool. And meanwhile, I was buying glasses. I was trying to get the most, like, sort of dorky, generic glasses I could find. And the reason I was going for the sort of utilitarian glasses, because up until about halfway through college, from middle school up into college, actually my persona alter ego Lunarian H guy, he still wears those glasses, but they were actually originally these very dark glasses that I wore due to sensory issues that I was, experiencing as part of my my own sort of slice of the special spectrum. You know, after spending a few fun weeks of testing in a university hospital when I was a little kid to figure out what was up with me. And but yeah, I was having a lot of sensory issues with fluorescent lights up until about halfway through high school. Well, actually, I mean halfway through college. But the glasses, it was a special prescription. They were very dark, which made them look just like sunglasses. So, I mean, looking the way I do in the first place and wearing these really cool-looking dark glasses got me, it was a lot of unwanted attention from, like, security guards in high school and from teachers and professors thinking I was trying to be cool or make a statement. Or when I'm out shopping, and made it impossible to get a job, even when I had documentation of everything. So I was like, I have not had a major sensory overload issue in a full calendar year, so if I go another full calendar year without having one, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make do without these glasses. And I didn't, and I was able to do without them, which is great. Now, the Mario Party 2 version of this track is much more forgiving. In the Mario Party 1 version, they make it so that if you you have to lean into those turns with the analog stick, and if you don't do it properly, you actually fall off the track and like instantly lose the game. Hey, there it is. I think that's Sing Sing Prison right there. Or was that? No, I'm barely paying it. I'm not really paying much attention to the video, so excuse me if yeah, excuse me. Now, I'm not doing too great, but at least now I'm gonna do something. I just considered I could. If I'm going to. No, it's not really worth it. Yeah, it's not really worth it. Now, one thing I've been doing lately is I've set them all to computer players and have the game play itself while I'm sitting around working or whatever, or getting the streams ready. And then in the last turn, I set them all back to, because I have two sets of Joy-Cons, so I could easily just set up 4 players on the Switch, and set them all to human players so that their coin totals and star counts go into the collective bank of the game, because playing a single player makes it extremely expensive. It makes it extremely expensive to actually And it's a very tedious process to actually get to the point where you could unlock a lot of the things. Because this game, the intention is for 4 players, human players, to be playing this together. So their collective coin totals at the end of the game go into the this collective pot to buy items and mini games and unlock the later boards and stuff like that. But in this, so you could set all the computer players, have the game play like a 60-turn match, and then in the last turn, send them all back to human players and reap the rewards. Now, Mario Party 2 is a lot better with this, because Mario Party 2 has it set up so that all of the... Oh my goodness, Peach, you got like a bandit there. Yeah, Mario Party 2, they set it up so all the computer players' coin totals still go into the collective pot at the end, so it's a lot easier to do that with. You don't have to be sneaky and try to set the controllers back to human players during the last turn or anything like that. Now, the reason, like, another cool thing about Mario Party 2 over this is that, well, Mario Party 1, all human players, their coins go into the pot, and then their stars go into the pot. Yeah, so you have a separate star pot and a separate coin pot. In Mario Party 2, how it works is all the players, human or computer, will all their coins and stars count, but the stars which sell for 20 coins instead count as 50 coins, and you don't have a collective coin total. Now in Mario Party 1, you need to get a collective total of 100. I do not want to. At this point, I'm trying to get as many coins as possible to put into the coin pot, because there's no way I'm actually going to win this. Yeah, you need to have 100 stars in total on the cartridge to be able to unlock the final map. And you need a certain amount of coins to buy the second to final map. But then in Mario Party 2, and another thing that I remember, it was Peach's birthday cake, actually. It was one Saturday morning when I had rented, during one of those, 99 or 2000 weekends, when I had rented this game, and I wanted to unlock a bunch of mini games, especially bobsled racing. This game does not need to have a timer on it. Eventually, someone's going to lose. I think it was a bad choice to have a timer on here. Now, I never understood, even as a kid, what the deal is with these creepy balls with these like monster faces on them. Mario Party 2 just changed it to a star, which is a lot more obvious. It's like, what are they thinking with these interesting ball designs? This almost looks like this ball design looks like something that if you went into the ROM of the game, you would find as like a sort of developer leftover thing that wasn't implemented in the final game. And so someone like Boundary Break would be like, oh, look at these weird balls that were hidden in the cartridge. They must have been used during the development phase for the game or something like that. Yes, okay, that came very close to being a draw, and I'm glad it wasn't. No, what I was getting at is one weekend I rented this. I wanted to unlock a bunch of games, so what I did was I played through a 60-turn match of Mario Party 1 on this particular map, actually, and I focused entirely on earning coins. I didn't buy any stars. I just got coins. Whereas Mario Party 2, it would have paid for me to get stars, because for every 20 coins I spent on a star within the game, I get 50 coins at the end. Which makes you question the economics of why Toad is selling these stars for 20 coins when they're apparently worth 50. No, like, yeah, I understand why they had to replace Rydeen and from the arcade version of Super Locomotive to Rysine is what they call it in the Genesis version. But, like, Rydeen is like, if there's such a thing in the universe as hype train music, Rydeen is that track. Like, that is such a freaking hype track. And my first exposure to it was Super Locomotive because I was looking at...
Ready, go!
Oh my goodness! No, I did... That is not... Okay, I lose. That is not how I remember this working. The game working. Yeah, it was just A and B. I thought that was a stick rotation game for a second. Just Mario Party 1. That's you know, it's funny. The whole reason I decided to play using the Joy-Con and the grip was so that I could try to rotate the stick quickly using my thumb instead of having the longer, bigger stick on the Pro Controller, which is what I normally use to play anything on Switch. Now, one thing I found cool, if you... Excuse me. Is it? Okay. Alright, it's not looping. It's not looping. Good. I just had to make sure it wasn't looping. The problem you have with the Super Locomotive version, TSS Killer is saying, is that it's about one semitone lower than the original version. Yeah, yeah, that's a... I wouldn't have noticed that personally, but I'm the kind of oh my gosh, this is a cool video. This is on the Bluebell Railway. Mr. Cousins. Okay, I got to tell you this story from when I was on the Bluebell Railway, and I'm glad you're here to hear this, TSS Killer. So, so the day one it was like the Friday before I left. Now I booked a ride on this ale tasting train. That was a special train ran after their normal schedule. And the Bluebell Railway tweeted out like, "Oh, ale tasting train on Tuesday, you know." And I tweeted something like, "Oh, I'd love to go, but there's a silly pond in the way." Now, there are a couple of people from the Bluebell Railway who knew I was coming. The person running the Twitter feed wasn't one of them. So I actually got to be on the train, and he was talking, because I was the only person on the train, because everyone else who was there for the day had already gone. So I'm sitting there I'm the only person who's not Bluebell Railway volunteer staff that's on the train, because they're going to the northernmost station at East Grinstead to actually pick up most of the people, because on the northern end of the line it's kind of like in Harry Potter almost, where there's a secret platform. There's an extra platform where the steam trains pull up, and then platforms 1 and 2 are just normal commuter trains going between London and Brighton, I think. So I'm talking to the fellow running, and I'm like, I think that's the guy who runs the Twitter feed, and he's like, oh, you're here early. Yeah, I wanted to get on, ride every chance I could. And it's like, oh, are you from America? I was like, yes, I'm the guy who tweeted at you on Friday, like, oh, I wish I could make it. And he's like, oh, I apologize, we'll pour one out for you, or something like that. So I got to surprise him. Like, yeah, the guy on Twitter from America actually did show up. Now, what I didn't know is that behind the scenes, a bunch of people in the Bluebell Railway were going bananas. Like, oh my gosh. Okay, and here's one of the cab rides I got on the Southern Railway U-Class locomotive. Now, okay, the reason this video is unlisted, because out of context, it makes this look like I was climbing on top of the cab or on top of the tender. I was using a selfie stick, and I spoke specifically to the driver and the fireman, making sure I was doing everything safely and properly as far as my behavior on the footplate. But out of context, it made this looks kind of like I'm acting like I'm climbing on the top of the tender or something. And just because of that, I decided not to post this publicly. And so what happened, but I didn't know that behind the scenes, word was spreading throughout all the volunteers and the staff that someone came all the way from New York City to visit us. And so I'm on the platform, I'm on the northern end of the station. The first train of the day pulls up, and the driver pulls up, and I'm a pretty distinctive looking person. Oh, that shot is fantastic. And so he's like, I can't impersonate an English accent. He's like, oh, you must be from the fellow from New York. And I'm like, oh, I'm that well known already. But basically, they did everything they possibly could for me. Like, and the thing is, the week I went there happened to be all kinds of cool special events that I booked. But then, see, look at them. They're brewing tea using the firebox. They're using the fire from the locomotive to brew tea in flasks. as they're driving the train. It is, like, it is. No, one thing, when I went to England, they are that serious about their tea. But the fact that they're using the Locomotive Firebox top as a hot plate for their tea is like, come on, you can't get much. Yeah, that is chef's kiss right there. But the first day, they were running British Railways Mark I stock from the 50s. That was up in use up until the very early 90s. But day 2 was like they had 2 trains running. And one train was the newer Mach 1 stock from the 50s. The other train was various vintage coaches from like the 80s or 90s up until the 1930s. And I didn't realize that they take that train out, and of all these old, like, you know, wooden-bodied coaches, they take that train out and run it on a regular basis. I thought that was something that, okay, they use their stock from the 50s and 60s every day, and maybe on special occasions they take out their older, you know, Victorian and Edwardian trains. No, they run their older trains like, you know, just. You know, it's funny. The first time I rode on the train of the Mark I stock, I was going from coach to coach, and I was like, wow, I have a third class ticket for today. I need to make sure I get on a third class coach, and because these all look like first class coaches. And I asked the guard, or conductor as we call it in America, oh, where is the I have a third class ticket. Which car am I supposed to ride in? And he's like, oh, this train is all third class coaches. You can sit wherever you want. I was like, that's me being from New York. I'm like, oh, this train is so nice. These obviously have to be first class accommodations. And then, oh, TSS Killer, you'll love this one. So, I didn't realize this because I had ridden in vintage stock before in the U.S. But I never rode in slam door stock before. So in my world, either like the old Pullman Standard diesel coaches on the Long Island Railroad, there was a vestibule at the front and the back that you exited and entered the train through. Or on the New York City subway, or like with the M1 or M3s, or the M2s if you're over on the mainland, the train cars doors, or also the shoreliners. Also, some of those had those doors that open and close automatically. Man, riding shoreliners are so fun. Like, I just ride those shoreliners and just pretend this is 1998. I'm going to Patchogue, and everything is fine. And just like pretend as best I can. But anyway, okay, I have to really jam my finger to try to. And I have to watch what the other characters dig up, because they could also dig up. Oh, I'm the favorite to get the. Oh, no, you don't, Yoshi. No, you don't. Yeah, I tried to swoop in at the last second. And so I'm talking to Mr. Cousins, and he took me. I was on the platform of the platform of Horsted Cane Station, about halfway down the line. And we were talking, and so I didn't realize that they were going to run this train of these old wooden coaches. Like, I rode, like, if you know, like, Thomas the Tank Engine, you know, like, Annie and Clarabelle, I actually rode on those types of coaches, and it was crazy. And so I'm talking to Mr. Cousins, and I see this train pull up that's like something literally out of my dreams, because I did not think they'd just be running this train casually. So I see this train pull by, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I'm sorry, I know we're talking, I have to go ride this train. And he's like, I understand, this is the work, this is what I'm here for, go ride the train, I'll talk to you tomorrow. So what that video before was, the next day, Mr. Cousins came, and he took me behind the scenes of the workshop, where they restore yeah, I know I said I wouldn't buy a star, but I just wanted to, because there were so few stars going on throughout this match, that I do want to add to the star count so I could get the star count up to 100, and because I knew I'd have more than 60 coins still, so I'm like, alright, let me just go ahead and buy a star. Yeah, so that's the story of why I was behind the scenes in the carriage workshop of the Bluebell Railway there, and that's why that's also why they invited me on board the Locomotive on a couple of occasions for a footplate ride, and I was like, I never dreamed, I didn't want special, I was just gonna, hey, I'm going to England, I'm gonna go to the Bluebell Railway, it's gonna be great, and I'm just thinking from the standpoint of a normal tourist. I didn't think they were gonna hook me up with special treatment because I came all the way from New York. And I was talking to one of the volunteers there, and I was talking to him about how I went to the, TSS Killer. Did I tell you of how, if you happen to know who Chris Eden Green is, I randomly ran into Chris Eden Green while I was at the Bluebell Railway. Because I had to stop and take a pee before the train left, and while I got out just in time to see the train leave, because it left a couple of minutes early. Now, so I'm sitting in the waiting room on the center platform of, there's the center platform of Horsted Cane Station, and I'm watching like this video that's playing on monitor, and it's like, I hear behind me someone's voice like, oh, which engine do you think that is? And I knew it was Normandy. I knew it was that locomotive. It's like, oh, that's Normandy, I reckon. I cannot do an English accent. And I was like, no way, is that Chris Eden Green just standing behind me? And I look, and it's him, and I'm like, Chris! And he's like, me? He's like playing it up. And I'm like, yes, you! Like, are you kidding me? I'm partially here because of you, and you're just behind me. Yeah, I never went to England. I got infected with British Railway stuff through Thomas the Tank Engine. Because what happened was, I didn't have the original Railway series books from like the 40s through the 70s. I didn't have access to those until 1999. But it's like 94, 95 when season 4 of Thomas the Tank Engine was out on video. And yeah, we're not gonna plant a strawberry. Yeah, it was season 4 of Thomas the Tank Engine, which introduced the Skarloey Railway, the narrow gauge railway on the island of Sodor. And I had a book, because like the original books made it much more explicit, the links between the stuff going on the island of Sodor and actual railway history. Whereas they didn't play that up as much in the TV show, which I think was a good choice ultimately, because it made them able to make the television show more of an international product. Whereas if they focused more on the actual British railway history stuff that bled over into the books, worked better when it was a UK specific franchise. Once it became a global franchise. Okay, we're gonna have to play catch up because Mario was a slouch getting the bobsled going. But my parents did get me a lot of railway history books with lots of trains from around the world, and I'm like, there's this place called the Tallylyn Railway. I didn't know it was actually Tallyclyn because I didn't, know how to read the Welsh language. And I still don't, but now I know how to pronounce, okay, the double L, it's like a C or a K sound, I think. But I'm like, these little trains, these little slate mining trains from my railway history book happen to look just like these little trains that they just introduced in the newest season of Thomas. And that's what I got interested in. That was what made me. That's what was the link. That's what made me go from being a sort of just, a fan of the local railways in my area to being like a fan of global railroading history. New record. The brothers take it home. Yeah, I only went in 2015, and it's funny because I wanted to go. I'm like, okay, I wanted to go. I was afraid. I'm like, I don't want to sound insensitive, but I was like, if Queen Elizabeth passes away while I'm in England, my vacation is freaking over. And so I didn't want that to happen. And then I was, because of a lot of courses I took in college, I was more aware than the average person about the risk of a global pandemic limiting world travel and causing a major disruption in freedom of movement internationally or even domestically. So I was like, hey, I want to get to England. If I could only visit one other country in the world, I want it to be England. I want to get there before something crazy like a pandemic happens. So I was lucky enough to, Densha De Go, aren't there a few games in that series on, like, the 3DS or something like that? I don't know if there are any games like that or similar to that on the Nintendo Switch eShop, but I know there's a way you can access the Japanese eShop on a North American Nintendo Switch and buy games. I need to look into that. And from what I hear, those games are fairly English friendly. I can't speak or read Japanese. I learned to read just enough Japanese to operate the menus on my import copy of Pokemon Gold. Back when, for some odd reason, there was uncertainty as to whether or not they would actually bring those to America. Looking back, obviously they should have. Oh, TSS Killer. I gotta tell you about this, okay? I was in the locomotive shed of the Bluebell Railway. And it was like crazy walking around in the locomotive shed of the Bluebell Railway, which is open to the public. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there is, I'm just seeing like, oh, there's Birchgrove, there's Bluebell. Like, these locomotives that I've known of, since reading history books in the 90s and looking at, those early 90s, early 2000s websites, these engines that I've known of for years, some engines which were actually illustrated in Thomas the Tank Engine. Because in Thomas the Tank Engine, the interesting thing is when real-life locomotives were featured in the original books, they'd often show them with just a plain smoke box door and not having the traditional anthropomorphic face on the front of them. So there's certain characters that just had that just looked like actual trains, which was interesting. But so it is like walking through. It's like walking up on the altar at the Sistine Chapel or something like that. I'm like, how am I just standing here amongst these famous locomotives I've known of my whole life, and I hear two people speaking in Japanese behind me, and I hear them speaking in Japanese, and then they're saying, like, something, oh, Bluebell, or something, oh, Birch Grove. And I'm like, they're speaking in Japanese, talking about the locomotives, because, the locomotive names are, those are universal. Especially in Japanese, which loves their loan words and stuff like that. So I look, and it's this older couple, the husband and wife couple, and they're, like, as enamored with it as me. I'm like, they came even further than me to visit this place. And I didn't know if they spoke English or anything. I'm like, did you come from Japan to visit here? Because I came from America to visit here. And they're like, oh my, they spoke English. And and we were, like, totally, like, hit it off. And they gave me their email address, and they never responded. Unfortunately, I never got in contact with them because they invited me to stay with them, sadly. And as soon as we were talking for a couple of minutes, and we both started going through our bags at the same time, and we both pull our hands out, and we both have banknotes, and we both had banknotes and coins from our own country, and we were trading them with each other. And we both had the idea at the same time, like, oh, let me see if I have some American coins, and they're like, oh, let me see if I have some 100 yen coins. It was such a pure moment, and they took a picture of me in front of Bluebell, which is awesome, which was amazing. I don't have, I have my Erdl Thomas trains I have here. I have Mavis and Godred here from the Erdl 90s Thomas line, but they included Bluebell from the Bluebell Railway, and Stepney. No, Stepney had a face, because Stepney had a face in the books and in the show. But they included City of Truro, Great Western Railway, City of Truro, and Southeastern Chatham Railways, 323, I think, Bluebell. And those characters in Thomas did not have faces on them. And so the Ertl toys didn't have faces on them either. And even as a kid, I really just wished, that they made versions, like once Ertl lost the Thomas license, I wish they just used these models, just change them to actual British Railways paint jobs. Take the faces off of them and just reissue these as model locomotives. Because the cool thing about the Ertl diecast Thomas range is that these are actually, relatively speaking, these are basically realistic representations to the actual proportions of the locomotives they're based on. So, like, yeah, just take the face away, take away where it says Mavis, the character's name, and you just have a Drewy tramway shunter, from, actual railroading history. And even as a kid who loved Thomas, I wish they just made versions without the faces for all the characters and, just realistic, historical liveries. So I could just have, because there was a point where I was more interested in the real-life locomotives than I was in the trains. Now, oh my gosh, I was talking about Godred right here. Yeah, Godred the Mountain Engine, a book-exclusive character from 1959. I forgot, it was either 1959 or 1961 Mountain Engines came out, because it was either the book right before or right after Stepney the Bluebell Engine. I know for a fact Stepney the Bluebell Engine was 1960, but it was a book about the mountain engines on the island of Sodor, which was based on this railway that you're seeing this promotional video of right here, which was the Snowdon Mountain Railway in Wales. And the funny thing is, when they drew the illustrations, these trains, they only... let me skip ahead. Let me skip ahead here. Posture check. Caught me slacking a little bit, not too severely. But these locomotives, they push their train up the mountain. They don't pull their train. So, because in Thomas, like, the faces are usually on the smoke box door beneath the smokestack, there were very few opportunities to actually show the front of the locomotives. So the illustrators drew the face on the back of the locomotives. So if you look at Godred here, it doesn't focus very well, but the face is die-cast on the back of the train. Well, not the train, the back of the locomotive. So let's, now that we are at a point where... Yeah, we're just gonna scroll through here. I know I'm gonna lose, because I stopped really trying to seriously go for stars at a certain point. Once, I guess I care more about having coins than stars in my collective bank total right now. But once we finish this, I'm gonna switch over to Super Locomotive. Now, a cool thing, I only figured this out yesterday. Actually, I might have only figured it out today. Either today or yesterday. Because what I was doing before is I'd have, out of my capture card, I'd have a single cable that I'd swap between my different HDMI consoles. See, look, I ended up winning anyway just because I got so many coins and got all those bonus stars. But I had one cable going into my capture card that I'd swap between all my different HDMI consoles. And what I realized is, hey, I have a bunch of HDMI cables. And I don't think I ever actually, only once have I actually purchased an HDMI cable specifically. Most of my HDMI cables came with other things that I purchased, like other consoles and products that just happen to include one in as a standard accessory. So what I did was I plugged HDMI out cables into all my different devices and systems. And what I do now is I just swap the cables from the systems out on the HDMI end, so I don't have to swap around and fiddle out to, open the hatch on my Switch and plug it into the Mega SG to plug it in the analog pocket dock or into the Wii U. Now I could just swap the cables out. Now I want to get labels to actually be able to tell at a glance which cable goes to where, because most of the cables are black except for my analog pocket dock. That one goes to... Oh, you know what? TSS Killer. I don't know if you saw this, so... Yeah, TSS Killer, if you, I got this, this Primera DM100. I imported this from Japan because, I'll go, webcam. I'll go full webcam for a minute. I'll turn off the Super Locomotive. Where is... Okay, here we go. We'll turn this off. Yeah, I imported a Primera DM100 from Japan Because even though it has a Japanese format keyboard, if you're just hitting caps lock switches it over into English, and I wanted an ultra portable word processor. Like this thing, I rarely leave home without this. This thing has revolutionized the way I work professionally, the way I write recreationally and professionally. And yeah, let me get this out. I haven't shown this out on stream yet. But I have this other standalone word processing portable thing. This is the Astra House FreeWrite Traveler. And, okay, the difference between these two machines is the Primera DM100 is a portable word processor. It's a machine for writing. What the Astro House FreeWrite Traveler is a pretentious interactive art piece about the concept of writing. This is like the guitar that you like the way it looks, you pick it up, you strum on it a bit, but when it comes down time to actually seriously write, you get the actual serious writing tool. Because the ridiculous thing is, yeah, how sad is it that a machine that's made to write in a language I cannot read or write is more useful to me as a monoglot English speaker than a machine that's actually designed in New York City. Let me put this back on my shelf. And while I'm up, I'm going to swap the cable over. There we go. Yeah, I gotta swap that cable over. Alright, so this, why is, this should not still be, why, okay, I see what's, why on earth is it still show? I swapped the HDMI cables. Oh, you know what? I'm silly. I swapped the cables out the wrong end of the capture card. There we go. No, because the thing about the Astro House FreeWrite Traveler is that if you notice, the keyboard does not have arrow keys on it. Because it's like, the idea is you're supposed to, like with the other device, the shiny, nice looking white one, you're supposed to write on it. You're not supposed to edit on it. So they deliberately did not put arrow keys on it. Now there's software arrow keys that you have to like hold like the new key and hit like ASWD like you're playing like a Unreal Tournament. Which is like, okay, they're and the thing is they're obsessed with the design vocabulary of typewriters, which is why they didn't want to put arrow keys on it, because typewriters didn't have arrow keys on it. But I don't know, like they're just really silly, because what happened was and then the other thing it has is e-ink screen. E-ink screens are great to read on. They are not great to write on. And just having an LCD screen, yes, it's less fancy, but it's just such a better machine for writing on. And of course you could just, and another thing, you could just pop out the SD card, pop it into your, and you could also change the menus over into English, which is great for me with the Primera DM100. But TSS Killer was saying, you go to Japan at the end of February, you're gonna go to a museum of locomotives, either in Nagoya, Kyoto, or let me butcher this with my monoglot American tongue. Utsunomiya, that has diesel engines. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna take a little break before we get into Super Locomotive. Hold on. One thing I do need to do. We're gonna change this over to Super Locomotive plus train videos. Alright. I'm just gonna take a stretch break for a while and get into a few hours of this. After when I get back, I'm gonna play a half hour of Super Locomotive, just focusing on that alone. And then I'm gonna run some Shiny Time Station and then get back into more Super Locomotive. Now, when I go to Sandtown Station, I'm probably just gonna let the game run on its attract mode rather than focus on the game. This game is hard. This game is really hard. It's gonna take all my focus. So when I go over to Sandtown Station, which I have ready, oh my goodness, please. Okay, that's more like it. Yeah, there we go. So that's ready. So I will be back in. Let's drop a credit for my artists, and I will be back in 10 minutes with the actually there you go. Now you can listen to the narration on the train video, I think. No. Where? Oh wait, no, I have to. And forget it, I'm just gonna turn back on the music. Okay, so I'll be back in 8 minutes. So thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you soon. Hey, I'm back. Thanks for hanging with me, everybody. It's always an honor when I have the same number of people before the break as during and after the break. So let's see. How about we're going in 30 minutes into this? Yeah, so 30 minutes, and we'll maybe take a break or try to multitask. And so here we go. Now this, I think this news clip is from when the Class 43 Intercity 125 HST was setting the record for the world's fastest diesel train, which I think may or may not still stand today, even though this was back in the 80s, because no one really tries to run diesel trains fast. They had to do it in the UK because they really didn't have that much of a choice. But because the more obvious solution for high speed is to run an electrified service, because in an electrified service you don't have to weigh down the locomotives with diesel engines, because diesel locomotives are effectively diesel locomotives. They're electric locomotives built with onboard power plants. So with electric locomotive, you don't have to make your own electricity. Just suck it out of the third rail of the wire and keep moving. And Barface, thank you so much. Wait, the camera's this way. The chat is this way, so I turned to the chat instead of to the camera. Oh my goodness. Barface, you appreciate my streams. They're nice and relaxing. I try to do what I can. Thank you very much for the 100 bits. Just lurking in chat is more support than I could have hoped for. That's all it's required is just if just honoring me with your time is more than I could have hoped for. Bits and subs and little things like that. Even just sending channel points. I know that one of the potential sponsor that I'm working at said that they are looking at even just spending channel points as well as something they're interested in for people they want to work with. So let's hey, it's 6:33. I think the train was scheduled to depart at 6:30. So let's make up for lost time. Here we go. Okay, this game is so freaking hard. This game is fast as heck. I can't... Okay, so I have to keep it... This game would have been great to have a port on the DS. Because there's... Oh man, I missed the oil there. So I have to use my hyper mode. Okay, you could slow down and speed up the train. And you see in the lower screen... You see there's an evil train with beefy arms chasing me. Now, because... in sort of Japanese, I guess, color vocabulary, blue and green are somewhat interchangeable, or I guess the idea is that, basically, as I understand it, blue is kind of considered a shade of green rather than a distinct color, in terms of the traditional, I guess, equivalent of a color wheel over there. So, these blue lights, they're effectively, you treat them like green lights. So you have green lights and red lights, but here they're just more of a blue shade. Hey, TurboGrafx, we are playing the first... from what I understand, is the earliest train or locomotive themed video game. This game is hard as heck. I'm shooting cannonballs through the smokestack. This music is... Oh, so Barface, you heard of this game, you just never saw it in action before. This game should have been on It's a shame that this game didn't have a modernized version released on the DS. So how the bombs that I shoot from the funnel work is that I press the button to launch it. Hey, we beat level 1. Yeah, so you hold the button to launch it, then you release it to make it go vertically. Yeah, this is a Sega game from 1982. This game is having its 40th anniversary this year. It was an arcade exclusive release, and for the first time ever, they've released it on... They ported it to the Sega Genesis as part of the Sega Genesis Mini 2. So this is also one of the first games... Now, this is also one of the first games to have a licensed soundtrack, Rydeen by YMO. So what I'm going to do, I have the original chiptune queued up here, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute I'm gonna mute this. I'm gonna mute the capture card. I'm gonna swap it over to the... Okay. Did that work? No, it didn't. Okay, that switching to black is supposed to happen, but I have to... How do I rig this up? I have to remember. Okay, here we go. Alright. So when I... Alright, so this is simulating having the original music here. I know it's slightly off-key compared to the original version, but... I mean, come on, this is freaking hype train music if there ever was such a thing. Fortunately, there are not too many sound effects within the stage, so you're not missing out on too much. Yeah, you have to burst through those red light stops. Here you go down. Get the oil! Okay, we... See, look, you can see the coastline on the upper screen and the lower screen, which is cool. Now you can... You can go backwards. Oh yeah, TSS Killer. If everyone... yeah, click that... I know the version of Raiden he's talking about there. It is better than this version, but I think just the fact that they bothered to license commercial music... I mean, this is only... If you think of it, this is only like a couple of years after, like, Donkey Kong. And you already are up to the point of having a recognizable version of a mainstream commercial song actually appear in a game. Oh, and TSS Killer, did I describe the whole, like, green and blue thing in Japan properly? Because I only have the vaguest sense of it myself. I didn't do any deep research into it. This is just something I kind of overheard. And I wasn't sure how accurate that was. But I was kind of curious why in, like, anime I'd see, like, blue lights on traffic lights instead of green lights. And, it was before class started. It wasn't a Japanese class, but someone was explaining that to someone else. And I was like, oh, okay, that explains why the traffic lights in Digimon Adventure 01 were blue and not green. Because the joke I made at the time is like, oh, it's if red means to go, and if green means go and red means stop, then blue must mean to go backwards. Which was the subject of a Thomas story. Okay. Man, this game... I'm doing better than I thought I would. This game is real... There's a lot to keep track of in this game. Oh my goodness. It also benefits color blindness. That's... I didn't think of it... Well, I understand they're different. Look at the I do not know... What does the world have against this little locomotive? There's this huge, like, fortress airplane dropping bombs on it. There are evil zeppelins dropping gravity bombs. There are little evil trains with beefy arms. Like, what is going on here? Okay. Oh no! I ran out of juice to... I was almost to the station, too. Alright, let's go back to the original... Let's go back to Raizine. They actually call this the sound-alike version. They call it Raizine, which is cute. Oh, and, I just realized what's playing here because I haven't been paying much attention to the train video. But this is Railway with a Heart of Gold, which is a 1950s, American film about the Teleclin Railway right after it started preservation, which is a railway where Reverend Audrey, who wrote the original Thomas the Tank Engine books, actually volunteered. This is not only, Prolaka Boy is asking, is this the first train game I've ever streamed? Not only is it the first train game I've ever streamed, it is the first train-specific game I've ever played. I've played lots of games with train scenes in them, or train stages in them, which I really like. But, this is the first time I've played an entire game dedicated specifically to, railroads or locomotives. And no, but if you, anyone who watched, is familiar with Thomas back in the mid-90s with those Skarloey Railway episodes, this is the real-life railway in Wales that inspired that aspect of the Thomas mythos. Okay, so... Man, it is hard looking at both of these. Okay. Okay, so B is to turbo. And both... turbo uses fuel faster, though. Oh no, I ran into the red light. See, there's so much to keep track of in this game. I'm interested that... Will this become a regular on my channel? I'll definitely be returning to it here and there, but I can't... yeah, this is a little more attention intensive than the games I typically play. Okay, so we go down. Okay. No, I don't... Yeah, man, it's hard outrunning all these evil trains with the little muscle arms on them. Oh no, I'm gonna run out of juice. Ah, it got me. Yeah, that was my intention for the videos to go good with the games to set the mood. Now it's funny because on the actual railway in this video has a top speed of like 8 miles per hour or something like that. But this train is like trucking it. This train is... I mean, can you really call... I guess this is a light engine movement, because it annoys me that because the train... I mean, to be fair, technically this is a locomotive and not a complete train. And the game is called Super Locomotive and not Super Train. Oh no, look, I forgot. I needed a turbo through that red light. This game is tough. Lots of multitasking necessary. I only played through the first stage a few times so I could do the audio testing. Wait a second, hold on. Actually, let me check something real quick. What audio level am I supposed to have? I know I'm missing the bonus stage. I can't pause during the bonus stage. I need to open... I was supposed to change the audio level. Hold on. Stream cheat sheet. Super... Wow. Okay, I'm just gonna hope that if anyone... I just realized I guess my Mario Party 2 volume... I guess I determined in my test that the Mario Party 2 volume level in my software was good enough that I didn't need to also to adjust it after Mario Party 1. Oh, excuse me. I decided my Mario Party 1 volume level was good enough that I didn't need to mess with it for Super Locomotive. Oh, cool! When you're running through the signal... I did not know that running through the signal... Yes, I just barely outran that evil train. Or that bomb, rather. Yeah, and see, now I'm in the tunnel. And do the planes fly through the tunnel? Go get the oil. Yes. So the blue things are the oil. Oh, I just barely outran. No, I ran out of fuel. Okay. Okay, this game is something else. And I like how it doesn't start you off in the beginning of the stage. Yeah, I'm not even thinking about maximum points as much as I'm thinking of just surviving the stage right now. Go to the bonus scene. And yes, they did. During the normal stage, you actually can pause the game. And which is funny because they left the insert coin feature from the arcade. Oh, I missed him. Okay. Okay. Those bonus stages are fast. Here we go. Next stage. Now, I don't know how this train is running. This locomotive is, which is clearly a steam locomotive, and it's not a tank engine, so I don't know how it's able to have such good range on it without a tender to hold the coal and water in. But that's why this is a super locomotive. It stores its oil and its water in, oh my goodness, it stores its oil and water in hammer space. And that's why this is a super locomotive, and that's why, and all these planes and the evil trains are from an enemy transportation companies are trying to steal the technology of the super locomotive. And I just realized I tried to make lore for this obviously ridiculous premise. I mean, come on, look at like a Zeppelin with like a, well, blimp, excuse me. A blimp with skull and crossbones on it. Please. Oh no, I tried to switch to the bottom track, but I wasn't fast enough. And I was defenseless when the bombs came and got me. Alright. I need to. There we go. Boom. And he crashes. But they actually show the airfield that the evil airplanes take off from. Yeah, sorry if I don't have the best chat interaction in this... Oh man, I wasn't able to switch in time. Yeah, take that, Long Island Railroad, taking forever to add one extra track to the Ronkonkoma line. This railway has 4 freaking lines on it. This reminds me of Spy Hunter with a train instead of a car. I know Spy Hunter is, I know it's vertical. I'm familiar with the concept, the premise of it, and I know a bit of its history. But I never... yeah, it takes too long to... Only in very certain situations is braking and reversing going to actually be worth it. The shooting mechanic of having to hold the button and release it when, like, the bullet doesn't travel horizontally until you release the button, which is an interesting way to do it. Oh, right before the locomotive got hit by the bomb. Oh, I knew this. Okay, gotta stay on it for this. Is the sound corrupted for anyone else right now? Hold on, I need to check something. I need to... The sound was okay for me, but like through my headphones, it sounded like trash. It sounded like someone dragging tin can. Oh my goodness. The sound was okay for me. Oh my goodness. But now it's echoing. Through my headphones. That was something else. That's just because I forgot to set. Okay, so headphones. Okay. Nothing like a staged train crash between friends. Okay. Okay. Alright, so I hear the music. Is my microphone still working? Let's see. Okay, my mic's working. Alright. I just had to unplug my mic, which I know sometimes has caused major problems in, in the past, but... Alright, let's go. Look, they're sending tanks after me. Oh wow, an actual like modern train that's chasing us. You'd think this would be an easy like setup to have like a modern trains versus steam trains sort of conflict going, but they really don't go in that direction because both modern trains and steam trains have come after us. Okay. We're low on fuel. We can't waste it. It's not gonna hit. It's not gonna hit. No, it hit us. It hit us. You know, if they, there have been several attempts to make a Thomas the Tank. I remember being like when I was actually a little kid, right? Like during the time Chinatown Station is still running. I remember like my friend had a Genesis. Oh my! This is a video I took on the Bluebell Railway. This is a Southeastern Chatham Railway 060 freight locomotive. I did not get to ride behind this. Yeah, the only two locomotives I rode behind were the Southern Railway U class and I forgot what the other one was. I know it was a Southern design. I forgot what class it was. But yeah, look at that. That is look at that paint job. I mean, imagine the fact that they actually painted their freight locomotive. That's another thing. In North America, for the most part, we had too much sense. We were so practical. It's like, yeah, it's gonna get covered in soot and coal dust. Just paint it black. Whereas in England, they're like, oh, we're so proud that we've invented this. We're going to paint these in the most fabulous colors ever. All right. All right. You know what? Honestly, I'm surprised. They did a good job making a good substitution for Rydeen without having to pay the rights for the replacement track. Because I thought I was going to miss it a lot to the point where I rigged up, being able to play the arcade soundtrack on stream. But I actually don't miss it that much. It's a pretty good simulation. This game, if there was such a thing as a game, like if there were two games in all of history, yes, grab the oil and charge. No, if there was such a thing, oh my goodness, that was so close. Oh my god! Oh, I was outrunning I was outrunning all that stuff for so long. Oh no! My friend had a Thomas the Tank Engine game for Genesis, and even as a little kid watching Chinatown Station, I was like, "What?" And I probably liked Thomas the Tank Engine more than any kid in my school, and when I was a little kid. And even then, I was like, "What? How do you make a video game out of Thomas the Tank Engine?" And by the way, this video is from the Bluebell Railway. This is on board the Southern Railway. This is on board the Southern Railway U class, and I missed the bonus scene. And the funny thing is, yeah. See, look, you could see the gap. You could see the plate between the tender and the actual locomotive itself, and they are swaying and moving separately. It is. I bless them so much for trusting some random tourist from the United States. Well, I guess the fact that I came all the way from New York, I guess, was enough to signal that I was serious about trains and knew how to actually act on a footplate. Because that's not something you could just you could typically do at a heritage railway. It's usually a special experience. Like even when I went, I had to sign waivers and stuff to be on the footplate. And they were all kind of like, this is interesting because you never had an American sign one of these before. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I was just like, how do you make a video game out of Thomas the Tank Engine? Excuse me, I clearly shot that. I shot that bomb right at that train's face. Yeah, I like how, you notice the bad steam trains have faces on them, but the bad modern trains don't. Boom. Oh no, I didn't. Okay. I didn't. This game, I didn't. It's funny, like, I planned to play this game on stream since they first announced it, but I somehow didn't expect to actually enjoy it this much. I expected it to just be like a couple minutes of me getting my butt kicked and it would be funny. Alright. No, okay. Bam! Boom! See that train get knocked out behind me? Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Oh, yeah! Oh, I'm starting to get into the, I guess, the strategy of this, because the planes can't back up. The planes can only chase you, they can't back up. I see. I see. I'm getting the feel for this. Oh no. Okay. I should have tried to run. If I had ran a little further and hit Alright. Okay. Alright. Now I gotta get some... Oh, we're at the station. We're at this... You know, it's another thing I keep forgetting. I need to keep an eye on the fact that the map... It shows how close I am to the station. It actually shows that on screen. Okay, you have infinite shots, apparently, to try to take out the planes. Alright, let's, Alright, so we're going to... Yeah, this is one of those games where you pause and the music keeps going, which was generally kind of annoying, but it makes it very easy to do the audio check, which is great. So let's silence the capture card. I know. And go over to... Alright, so a little context here. So Shining Time Station started in the late 80s, and effectively what this was a Trojan horse to get... yeah, this is basically a Trojan horse to get Thomas the Tank Engine through the door in North America. And they actually kind of followed a similar formula to Power Rangers, where they took, like, the Thomas episodes, or in the case of Power Rangers, Super Sentai, they took Japanese stock footage, framed it around new footage filmed with North American actors, and then used it to sell a toy line based entirely on the stock footage section and not the newly filmed North American footage. And they're both from islands that have imperial histories. So a lot of, and so this was my first introduction to Thomas was Thomas Gets Tricked. When I saw it at my local library, one time I don't have my Queen's Library pin with me. I usually have my Queen's Library pin within grabbing distance. Not today. But yeah, I saw Thomas gets tricked in the video section of the library, and then once I fell in love with it, my mom looked in the TV guide to see if this ever aired on television, and that's how she found Shining Time Station. Now, I do have this episode on tape, this first episode. I have it on tape. So I think I actually might have coincidentally saw the first episode on a rerun. Good old WNET New York. Actually, I'm going to... If I need to adjust I had to severely crank up the audio on this in order to get it to run. And then on top of that is the fact that I had to... Hold on. Yeah. I had to crank up the audio to get it to run. Good old Ringo Starr. I'm glad he's still with us in this world. Yeah, it's a little off-center. I put it a little off-center in the hopes that it would help maybe if... And the extremely... I have a better chance of probably hitting the lottery than getting a copyright strike for this, because it's been on YouTube for like a decade, untouched. I hope you could all hear that, because like both the broadcast software and my video player are cranked up to the max, and I had to go in and edit this to have even louder volume on the source video file, and this is as loud as I can get it. So I hope this is working out good. Yeah, there's only 2 sets to the show. There's the main station set and a workshop set. There are very few outdoor scenes in this series. And yes, that's Dee Dee Khan from The Love Boat. I knew her more as the voice of Raggedy Ann in that trippy early 80s, I think, Raggedy Ann and Andy movie. The musical. You didn't hear... Hold on. Hold on. Okay, I know what's going on. I need to... Okay, we have to I'm resetting the whole episode. Hold on. You're okay, probably hearing my voice in double right now. I have to fix that. I had to... Okay. So... Alright, there we go. I forgot to turn on my audio capture, because I'm using my desktop audio capture for this.
Go where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun.
There we go. You should be able to hear it now.
To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you.
I'm going to show you the inside of the station.
Oh, now you can hear me as well. Now, I'm very sure that Ringo Starr had enough money that he did not need to do this to afford his lifestyle and whatever he was interested in doing. Because, like, he signed up to narrate the Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends television show. He didn't know they were going to try to do this North American spin-off where he'd actually have to appear on camera and put on a conductor uniform and everything. Yeah, no, it should all be caught up by now, Collectible. I realized I had my...
Come on, I'll show you.
Yeah, I realized I had the,
Now, this is what we call
my microphone muted.
Desk. This is where folks come to find out, what time the trains run and where they're headed. Do you think you'd like to work behind that desk? Go on, give it a try. Let me see what you look like. Oh, wait, step up there. Ah, that's more like it.
Excuse me, sir. Does the express train to Fort Farley stop at Cloggyville?
I don't know, Aunt Stacy.
And you say yes.
Yes. Oh, good. Then I'm gonna have to buy a ticket.
Just want to reset the game so the
In order to ride the train, you have to have a
attract
ticket.
mode will go on.
This is where we sell them.
Yeah, no, this is not Stanley Kubrick's
Now I
The
please
Shining.
buy a one-way ticket to Cloggyville?
Yes, you can.
Okay, now you take a ticket from there. Uh-huh. And you find the puncher. That's it. You punch it Cloggyville. Perfect. And then you stamp it.
And, then I'd give you my money.
Thank you, young man. It is a pleasure doing business with such an efficient railroad.
No,
What did you
I
say the
stopped
name of this
talking.
railroad was?
Shining Times.
I don't want to talk too much over this. I don't want to talk too much over the show itself, but
Ooh, well, I'm gonna have to remember only to travel on the Indian Valley Railroad. Next stop is the waiting area.
yeah, it's never specified if
where
this
the
is in North
passengers
America.
sit.
Where in North?
And as they
It's so
wait,
weird
they
to me, like
Read.
having like that fishnet style trash can without a liner in an indoor waiting room of a train station. But of course, this is all a set because you notice how everything is aimed to face towards the camera and everything. So
That's neat. I know a different trick.
What happened to your thumb?
It's right here.
Oh, good, because you're gonna need your thumbs when we go to.
this show kind of has the atmosphere
Look at
of a school
games,
like play.
movies.
Where it's like, it's cheesy, but it's supposed to be cheesy. And you're so enchanted that they just set out to make something cute
Turn that
for
crank.
kids to enjoy.
I'm looking here.
Oh yeah, they make plenty. This is kind of a variety show. So there's the main like live action stuff. Then there's all this stock footage and animation stuff. Lots of use of public domain cartoons. What seem to be specifically filmed materials like music videos and stuff. And then the Thomas episode. So this is kind of a variety show at the end of the day.
Oh, it probably just needs a little glue.
I mean, even
I'll
in
fix it later.
like the late 80s, having a hand-cranked Nickelodeon like that was such a quaint thing. Just to think, to have an arcade with a jukebox, a hand-cranked Nickelodeon, and like a crane game, and like I think a candy machine, and no pinball machines, no video games. I mean, bless them for doing it this way.
This is my plan.
Bless them for doing
I'm
it
gonna
this way
make this
because
old
it just made it so much more
good as it
timeless.
ever was. There'll be passengers rushing around, going to faraway places. It's
This
gonna
is
be
all
a very
about
busy
one
station,
woman's
just
comfy
like
dream
the
of
days
having
when
a
my
famous
old
train
friend used
station
to
in her
ride.
little
And then
town.
lots of trains will want to stop.
And I guess I'm actually
going
going to try playing the game.
Sure.
I'm going to give it a
Great.
shot.
Now listen, there is a railroad
There
engineer
we go.
coming here this afternoon, and if he likes this place, then maybe he'll stay and help too.
They say a railroad engineer, but I think they mean a
Oh, it's
mechanic.
pretty, isn't it?
I'm not sure. Because
Called
if
a
like
mural.
Britt
Show it the way
Allcroft wrote this,
people
who's
used to
British,
travel, and
a
how they
mechanic
travel
and
now.
like an engineer would be more of a mechanic and not necessarily a locomotive operator.
Almost hear it come to life. Listen.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Okay, let's get started. Do you know what we need? We need some music to work by. Put that nickel in the jukebox, okay?
Put that nickel in that Nickelodeon. I have no idea what that's from. I don't know why that jingle came into my head. Oh yes, another important part I forgot of the show is the jukebox is inhabited by these little puppets that.
Somebody dropped the
So they're
nickel
like
in
the
the
idea is instead of records,
jukebox.
these little
We
puppets
have
are
to play
performing the music
song.
live.
Well, I'm all set, Fred.
What should we play, Tex?
What are those noises in there? Where's my song?
Hey, there's like a kid looking in here. He can't see anyway, and he can't hear us unless we play a song. Let's play something totally fast.
Let's just play something we know.
How about
Oh,
some
I almost
railroad
dodged the bomb.
vibrations? A 1, a 2, a 3.
Oh, I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day. I've been working on the railroad just to pass the time away. Don't you hear the whistle blowing? Rise up so early in the morning.
I did.
Don't you hear the captain shouting? Dinah, blow your horn.
Who's Dinah?
Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you
Okay, so you officially completed a stage while multitasking and watching the show.
Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow? Dinah, won't you blow your horn? Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Someone's in the kitchen, I know. Someone's in the kitchen with Dinah. Strumming on the
You are perfected! Look at that, you are perfected! I love they kept the sort of, maybe, off-styled English. Yeah, it's not quite, it's not really incorrect English or mistranslated, it's just a bit, it's just a little bit not how a native English speaker would typically phrase something, but it's not technically incorrect.
I like it like that.
Rise up so early in the morning.
Oh, I'm gonna go get some clean water.
Here, you missed a spot.
Uh-oh. That train came out of nowhere, did you see that?
The window over here. You did the others, so don't miss this one. That's a good lad. Can't do a job halfway. What's worth doing is worth doing well, I say. And that goes double when you're doing my windows, because they're double paned. A pain in the neck and a pain to clean. Do you know what I see when I look at that clean window?
No.
The inside of the switch house. What else would I see? Well done, lad. What's your name?
Matthew.
Or is it Matthew? And you may call me Mr.
Yeah,
and
nowadays it
Dr.
would probably all be CGI.
Well, you're a good worker. You know who'd like you? My friend Thomas.
Yeah, okay, let me pause this for a second.
Thomas.
So, within, and only within the universe of this show, we are supposed to believe that the island of Sodor is a magical world of miniature trains or something, that Mr. Conductor is a conductor on the island of Sodor and travels there. And so this continuity's version of Thomas the Tank Engine was made into a feature film in 2000. And it's weird because it's like by 2000, all the little kids who are watching this on PBS are way over age for Thomas. And then they marketed it in the UK, which never had Shining Time Station. And in the UK continuity, like, the island of Sodor was just a fictional island off the coast of Great Britain that actually tied in with actual British railroading history. So it was a really bizarre movie to the UK audience especially.
Dear me, no. Thomas is a steam engine, and he lives on the island of Sodor. You are interested in trains, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
Oops, did I just mess
Splendid.
up?
Then
Okay,
I'll
good, I
tell
did.
you a story about my friend Thomas.
Did I know when I first saw that
You
Ringo
do
Starr?
like
You know,
stories, don't
I
you?
knew of the Beatles
Very well.
from my parents
But
and
first, I have to
grandparents,
find
and
my whistle.
I just didn't really know what they looked like. And my mom explained to me
Here we go.
that this he was from the Beatles.
Who lived at a big station. He had 6 small wheels, a short.
So what these
stumpy
are?
funnel,
These are
a
the
short, stumpy boiler,
illustrations for the original
a
Railway
short,
series narrated
stumpy
by
road.
Michael Angelis.
He was a fussy little engine.
So by doing
Always
these, it's a
pulling
way
coaches
around, because I'm sure if I
He
showed the
pulled
actual
them to
Thomas
the
episode that was
station ready for
originally
the
in
big
here.
engines to
So
take
this is
us
this
on long
the same
journeys.
original story
And when
that the
trains
episode
came
would have
in
showed.
And the people had got out, he would pull the empty coaches away so that the big engines could go and rest. He was a cheeky little engine too. He thought no engine worked as hard as he did, so he used to play tricks on them. He liked best of all to come quietly beside a big engine dozing on a siding and make him jump. Peep, 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 pip,
Oops.
peep. Wake up, lazy bones, he would whistle. Why don't you work hard like me? Then he would laugh rudely and run away to find some more coaches. One day Gordon was resting on a siding. He was very tired. The big express he always pulled had been late, and he had had to run as fast as he could to make up for lost time. He was just going to sleep when
gosh.
Thomas came up in his cheeky way. Wake up, lazy bones, he whistled. Do some hard work for a change.
Man,
You
Thomas
can't
is a
catch me.
butt.
And he ran off laughing. Instead of going to sleep again, Gordon thought how he could pay Thomas out. One morning, Thomas wouldn't wake up. His driver and fireman couldn't make him start. His fire went out and there was not enough steam. It was nearly time for the express. The people were waiting, but the coaches weren't ready. At last, Thomas started. Oh dear, he yawned. Come on, said the coaches. Hurry up. Thomas gave them a rude bump
the oil.
and started for the station.
No,
Don't stop
I missed
dawdling, don't stop dawdling, he grumbled.
Oh, I
Where
hit
have
the
you been?
red light.
Where
No,
have
no.
you been? Asked the coaches crossly. Thomas fussed into the station where Gordon was waiting.
So in
Boom, boom.
England
Hurry up, you.
they
said
ran the
Gordon
Thomas
crossly.
segments by themselves.
Peep, peep,
It was
hurry
part of a
yourself,
block of other
said cheeky
children's
Thomas.
shows.
Yes, said Gordon. I will.
And what they would do is they would
Almost
run one
before
Thomas
the
episode, then a
coaches
name
had
board
stopped
sequence to
moving,
remind you of the cast of
Gordon
characters,
came
and then
out
they'd
of
run
the
another
siding
4-minute
and was
episode.
coupled to the train.
That's how they were aired in the UK.
Boop, he whistled. Get in quickly, please. So the people got in
Yeah, and the other thing
quickly.
about the whole Shine Time
The
Station
signal
format
went down, the
is
clock
that
struck the
because
hour,
of the sort of
guard
lessons, the way they
waved
wrote the
his
live
blue
action
flag,
parts, they made it a lot
and
easier for them
Gordon
to
was
sell
ready to start.
this as an educational show,
Thomas usually
which let
pushed
them,
behind the big
take advantage
train
of certain
to help
things
them
in the
start.
North American
But he
market.
was always uncoupled first, so that when the train was running nicely, he could stop and go back. This time he was late, and Gordon started so quickly that they forgot to uncouple Thomas. Poop, poop, said Gordon. Peep, 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 whistled Thomas. Come on, puffed Gordon to the coaches. Pull harder, puffed Thomas to Gordon.
No, I
The
got it.
heavy train slowly began to move out of the station. The train went faster and faster. Too fast for Thomas. He wanted to stop, but he couldn't. Peep, peep, stop, he whistled. Hurry, 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 laughed Gordon in front. You can't get away, laughed the coaches. Poor Thomas was going faster than he had ever gone before. He was out of breath, and his wheels hurt him. But he
Oh,
had
I ran
to
out of
go
time
on.
just as the bomb hit me.
I shall never be the same again, he thought
It's just-
sadly. My wheels will
This
be quite
that's
worn out.
okay. Here's something. Okay,
At last they stopped.
this is something very. It's going to sound odd out of context, but Reverend Audrey, this Thomas, the Railway series books, these actual stories, these are not about magic. This is not about. That's another thing about Shine Time Station. It introduces these ideas of magic and other parallel worlds and magic portals and stuff. Thomas, the original books were not about that, because what you're reading here, if you watch those old Thomas episodes, what you're watching is just normal railroad operations, but with characters ascribed to the different pieces of equipment. The trains don't do anything or the locomotives, the other machinery, they do not do anything that a real-life locomotive could or would be able to do. Like this story about an engine that's supposed to be pushing to help a larger train get started and forgetting to uncouple the small engine so it gets dragged along the entire journey. That's something that's specific. That's something that would actually happen during the steam era of railroads, where a large engine might not be strong enough to start a large train quickly, but once it was at speed, it could move fast. So they'd have a small engine push, and sometimes they forgot to uncouple it. That's everything you see in these stories are things that would happen or have happened on real railways. And in fact, I mentioned this a bit earlier, only in the original books, only engines from the island of Sodor were depicted as having faces. Except with the exception of Stepney, pretty much, and also later on Flying Scotsman. But if you look at engines like City of Truro, Bluebell, Captain Baxter, who I got to meet in real life on the Bluebell Railway, or all the Bluebell Railway engines, when those engines from British Railways, when those engines came to the island of Sodor, they were not given faces. They were just depicted as actual normal locomotives. And there's actually a certain, like Henrietta, Toby's coach, and other pieces of equipment. There's some pieces of equipment that are ascribed characters, but just do not have faces. And it's not explained or gone into. You're not supposed to ask. They're just telling a story about these trains as though they're living creatures or living characters.
Laughed to see Thomas.
So I just wanted to clarify that in terms of lore and in terms of magic or anything like that. You're not going to get that in these books. That's not what these books are about. In fact, it's kind of somewhat implied that the original books, that these stories...
Now you know what hard work means, don't you?
There's certain implications that... Because within these books, the actual railway series exists in these books. Reverend Audrey, who wrote these books, is a character within these books. And it's somewhat implied that the island of Sodor, because remember all the Sodor lore readings that you redeemed, Kalaka Boy, when I read about, different parts of the history of the island of Sodor? If you didn't know I was talking about Thomas, you wouldn't know this was about Thomas. So these are real places with real history going back to medieval times that I've read the history of.
Don't forget those corners.
And I guess within the books, the conceit is that the island of Sodor is a real place, and that these books are children's books about these real railways. I guess you could say.
There's just something about this place.
So yeah, that's when it comes to magic or explanations to why the machines can talk or anything. That's all you're gonna get.
I told you he's a railroad engineer that's coming. I wouldn't mention any of this to him. You know how grown-ups can be. He may not understand.
I know.
And one thing they do a great job getting into in Shining Time Station in general, in this episode specifically, they really do relate well to kids. They sort of get, explain or sort of empathize with the fact that adults can seem just so sort of mysterious and sort of scary and hard to understand to a child. So you have this adult character who really relates to and talks to the kids in the form of Mystic Conductor, but he's smaller than the children are. So he is an adult in terms of his wisdom and his authority, and he's very non-threatening. He's smaller than the children are, and so he's sort of this intermediary that helps the children relate better to or understand the adults who kind of maybe forget what it's like to be a little kid and don't realize sort of maybe how sensitive kids can be about certain things or not understand certain things. So that's all.
Hello. I'm Stacy Jones. This is my nephew, Matt.
How do you do? This is my granddaughter, Tanya. And my name is Henry Cupper, locomotive engineer and master mechanic. You can call me Harry.
Well, welcome, Tanya. Welcome, Harry. The shining.
Yo, that guy knows how to present himself. Railroad engineer, master mechanic. Call me Harry.
We can sure use the help of an engineer of your experience.
Well, the railroad asked me to stop by.
They keep calling him an engineer, but he's really more of he serves more as a mechanic and a technician than a locomotive operator.
Do you mind showing Tanya around? Thanks. Let's start out here.
Look at how these kids are dressed. Look how nicely these kids are dressed. It's like they just got out of Sunday school or something. But at the time, and I'm not quite sure obviously I was around for this, but I'm not sure from memory to what extent kids still kind of were dressed like this more frequently, as opposed to this kind of being one of those more quaint sort of elements of the sort of timeless nature of the Shining Time Station setting. resourceful kid. She uses her hairpin to fix the handle on the crank for the Nickelodeon. And those real-life Nickelodeons typically did not have sound, so this is just kind of one of the conceits. I mean, honestly, even by the 1950s, I'm sure having a hand-cranked picture viewing machine like that would have been a very quaint sort of thing.
So start where you are. Right before your eyes, there's air. Take a magic breath. There now.
You got these cheesy. This song is so corny and sappy, yet it's just so like charming and harmless. Then like, how can you get upset over this? I mean, I could see.
Right before you stands your friend. Touch your fingers end to end.
Like I think that they wrote this song and filmed this footage just for the show. Okay, so the Zeppelin can float backwards. The dirigible can float backwards, but the airplanes can't.
Gotta go and look to find what's true.
I'm almost to the station. Oh no, I was almost to the station. I didn't have enough time to reactivate the turbo.
Start where you are.
You know, I didn't think I'd be able to play this game with even the slightest proficiency while playing the show, so... That was like a fun roller coaster. You know, I did not ride the Coney Island Cyclone until 2016 or 2017, even though I lived across the bay from Coney Island. I lived over in Rockaway, and when you're at the beach, you could see the parachute jump from the.
Wow! Start where you are.
Oh!
That's here.
Well, what do you think?
Well, I'd have to set up my workshop. Don't know where I'd do that. Perhaps over here, but then folks would be traipsing through it all the time.
Oh, no. Your workshop is right in here.
Yep, this is the second of two sets that they made for the show.
But of course, I'd want to make some changes, put everything in its proper place. Oh no, son, please don't touch that. Those are my railroad tools. You can hurt yourself. This could do nicely.
So it's like, yeah, he could actually have hurt himself, but he's just sort of like mystified and kind of like scared of, adults can be kind of mysterious and scary even when they're looking out for you.
You've come back to
I think the show did a good job of relating to
They haven't
that.
had a chance to get dirty.
Where did you go before?
Railroad work takes me everywhere, Matt. You don't spend a lot of time in one place. It's a traveling business. I was just off traveling with Edward.
Who's Edward?
See, look, he was the conductor on
Edward?
Edward's train in this
Of course
universe.
you don't know Edward. You didn't know Thomas. How could you know Edward? I'll tell you a story about Edward.
No, I pressed the wrong button. I pressed A instead of B. And
Once
I wasn't
upon
able
a
to...
time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in
So
a shed
this right
with
here
5
is...
other engines.
This right here is the first story of the first book. Yes, they introduced Thomas first, but Edward's day out. Like, Thomas was not actually in the first Railway Series book, even though I think he was the first character to be created.
Once upon a time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in a shed with 5 other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it. "The driver won't choose you again," they said. "He wants big, strong engines like us." Edward had not been out for a long time. He began to feel sad. Just then, the driver and fireman came along to start work. The driver looked at Edward.
When I ran myself out of energy, I wasn't able to defend myself from the bombs.
Would you like to come out today?
That's a weird thing to say in a train
Said Edward.
sim. Or
So
could
the
arguably...
fireman lit the
What I
fire and
often
made
read
a
described
nice
as a train sim, so...
steam.
Hey,
Then
and
the
station,
driver
round
pulled
over.
the lever, and Edward puffed away. Peep, peep, he whistled. Look
When do they
at
switch
me
over to the...
now.
Okay, alright, so let me just... I just been pausing this to be clear what's going on. When this show aired, when Shining Time Station aired, what this aired with were episodes from the Thomas the Tank Engine live-action model animated TV series. No one cares, like the copyright holders for Thomas do not care about Shining Time Station. They used it in the 80s and early 90s as a Trojan horse to get Thomas on North American television. And then they never really touched it again. It's been on YouTube for years. No one's taken it down, whatever. Now, if you want to look at the original episodes, you can check out the source there on YouTube. So, but the actual Thomas episodes, like if you post those to YouTube, they're liable to get taken down. You might get copyright strikes. So I don't want to run the actual Thomas episodes on Twitch. So what I did was I took the narration of the original books from the 1940s in this case. This is the 1945 release, The Three Railway Engines. I took the audio from that and it's set against the original illustrations from the 1945 book release. And that is the way I'm substituting, like being able to substitute for not being able to run the actual episodes. So that's what's going on here. When you actually watch this on PBS back in, late 80s, early 90s, on good old channel 13 WNET, I think it was, you would be watching the model animated television show narrated by Ringo Starr.
Like the other engines do. So Edward came up to the coaches very, very gently, and the shunter fastened the coupling. "Thank you, Edward," said the coaches. "That was kind. We are glad you are taking us
the
today."
books, like hey Jeremy, these illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. The illustrations in this era were provided by Reginald Dalby, I think his name was.
They went to the station.
And it's weird because you think of Thomas, you don't typically, at least to me as an American, I would always think of it in terms of like the old television series where they used physical models on a set, or I was way out of my I was way overage by the time it went over to computer generated graphics, and now they turned it into some Flash animated garbage. Not that being animated in Flash makes it garbage, but it's garbage, and they animated it in Flash, and they're not even trains anymore. They're just arbitrarily train-shaped creatures that might as well be cats or dogs or anything else. There's no point in making a Thomas show, and it doesn't even matter. Like these stories. This is a story about the conductor not showing up and not making Edward's train late. This is a show about a railroad. The new Thomas stuff is not about a railroad anymore. It is about these arbitrarily train-shaped creatures
"Are we ever going to start?" he said.
Don't need to be trains, and therefore it doesn't need to be Thomas. I'm fine with Thomas ending. Because Thomas, the episodes based on these stories and these stories themselves gave me a lifelong love for trains and steam locomotives. Modern Thomas, kids watching Thomas, what it is now, are not going to grow up as it might entertain them today, but they're not going to grow up loving and appreciating steam locomotives and railroading. Whereas these original books were rooted, they were based on real-life railway practices, real-life railway history. And Mattel, the current holders of the Thomas franchise, are absolutely ashamed of the actual real-life history and real-life railway practices that were the basis for these stories, and why even by the 80s, when they first started the Thomas television show, when steam locomotives had been out of use for more than 20 years in Great Britain, there was still interest by children too young to remember steam locomotives and these... Yeah. Now, this is two stories here. because in the
Edward
television series episode,
and Gordon.
they combined two different stories
One
into a
of
single
Engines
4-minute
and
episode.
Edward's
So that's why
ship
we get
was
two
called
stories in a
Gordon.
row here.
He was very big.
Yeah, and thanks, Kalaka Boy. If you look at
You
the source,
watch
you
me
can see
this
the
afternoon,
videos that I
little
got
Edward,
this from.
he boasted,
So,
as I rushed
like
through
they get
with
most of the credit for
express.
editing the illustrations
That
over the
will be a
narration.
Splendid sight for you.
I just edited these stories
Just
into
then,
the show.
His driver pulled the lever. Goodbye, little Edward, said Gordon as he puffed away. Look out for me this afternoon.
But see, look at them.
Edward
They're
was
real
off too.
locomotives.
He
Look how
was
tiny that man is. These aren't
Edward
toy
liked
trains
shunting.
within the world.
It was
Within the
fun
world, this
playing
is
with
actual
trucks.
industrial
He would
and
come up
commuting
quietly
work
and
being done.
give them a pull. Oh, 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 screamed the trucks. Whatever is happening?
No, like this
Then
show,
he would
this
stop,
this
and the
story about
silly
talking
trucks
trains
would
is
go
more
bump into each other.
realistic to actual
Oh,
railroading than the
oh,
video
oh,
game
they
I'm
cried
playing right
again.
now.
Edward pushed them,
And there's a
until
place
they
for
were
both of
running
them.
nicely. And when they weren't expecting it, he would stop. One of them would be sure to run on to another line. Edward played till there were no more
And what they're
trucks.
talking about here, and
Then
with Edward
he
shunting the
stopped to
trucks,
rest.
these sort of goods
Presently,
wagons
he
or
heard the
freight
whistle.
cars, they did not have brakes on them at the time. They were just sort of
Gordon
loosely
came
coupled,
puffing
free-rolling
along
vehicles.
very
So they'd get all this momentum and they'd bang
very
into each
crossly.
other and
Instead
run down the
of no
line.
shining
You know,
coaches,
so this is kind of
he
what this
was
is getting
pulling
into
a
here.
lot of very dirty coal trucks. A goods train, a goods train, a goods train, he grumbled. The
Boom!
shame
I
of
just
it,
blew up a
the
tank with a
shame of
steam
it,
locomotive.
The shame of it. He went slowly through with the trucks clattering and banging behind him.
I got
Edward laughed.
Thought I could outrun
and
that
went
bomb,
to
but I
find
didn't.
some more trucks. Soon afterwards, a porter came and spoke to his driver. Gordon can't get up the hill. Will you take Edward and push him, please? They found Gordon halfway up the hill and very cross. His driver and fireman were talking to him severely. You are not trying, they told him.
Yep. Perfect timing
I can't
for...
do it, said Gordon.
Oh,
The
I didn't have
noisy
time to
trucks hold an
reactivate
engine
the
back so.
turbo.
If they were coaches now, clean, sensible things that come quietly, that would be different.
Oh, I didn't... Okay, I have to
Edward's
get used to the
driver
window I have
Leave
between
them to push,
hitting an
he
obstacle
said.
and being able to activate
No
the turbo.
use at all, said Gordon. You wait and see, said Edward's driver. They brought the train back to the bottom of the hill. Edward came up behind the brake van, ready to push.
The brake van
Beep,
is the
beep,
UK terminology
I'm
for what we
ready,
would call a
said
caboose
Edward.
here
Poop,
in North
poop.
America.
No
where
good,
I'm
grumbled
at
Gordon.
and live.
The guard blew
And
his
down.
whistle, and they pulled and pushed as hard as they could. I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, puffed Gordon. I will do it, I will
Oh
do
no,
it,
I forgot
will do
to
it,
hit the
puffed
turbo.
Edward.
right
I
before
can't
hit the
do
red
it,
light.
I will do it, I can't do it, I will do it, I can't do it, I will do it. They puffed together. Edward pushed and puffed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever he could. And almost before he realized
Yeah,
it,
it's tricky figuring out which
Gordon
planes
found
are worth
himself
attacking and
at
which
the top
ones...
of the hill. I've done it! I've done it!
Okay.
I've done it!
It's hard
he
figuring
said
out which
proudly.
trains are
I
worth
forgot all about Edward pushing
actually...
behind.
Which planes are
He
worth
didn't
trying to
wait
attack.
say
Okay, good,
thank
good, good.
you, but ran on so fast that he passed 2 stations before his driver could make him stop. Edward had pushed so hard that when he
I'm
got
so
to the
close
top,
to
he
the
was
station.
out of breath. Gordon ran on so fast that
Oh, I
Edward
got hit
was
by the
left
bombs.
behind.
I forget.
The
Yeah, you can only see the
guard
bombs on the lower
waved
screen.
and
So.
waved, but Edward
And notice
didn't
that
catch up.
that Edward
He
and
ran
Gordon
on to
don't
the
even have
next
numbers
station,
on their tenders.
and
That
there
actually
the
came later
driver
on.
and fireman said they were very pleased with him. The fireman gave him a nice long drink of water, and the
That
driver
came
said,
along in like the third or
"I'll
fourth book
get
that they
out
added
my
numbers
pen
to the
tomorrow
engine's
and
tenders.
give you a beautiful new coat of blue with red stripes. Then you'll be the smartest engine in the shed."
Oh, come on, that counts.
And the
That's
very
bum
next day,
bum.
he did get a new coat of paint. You're good at small jobs, and you know what a big help that can be.
All right, that should have counted. I think I made it there.
talking to the wall, isn't he? Is he all right?
Sure, he's fine. Matt, oh, you know how kids are. Matt?
Are you going to come and work at Shining Time Station?
Well, Harry, I mean, Mr. Cupper hasn't made up his mind.
He said to call him Harry. Just call him Harry. Oh yeah, a lot of the passengers in this show are all the well, I mean that's true in real life. They're all characters. I mean, when I'm in a train station, I'm a character, and that's one thing. I said I really took for I didn't take for granted. I appreciated all the access to trains and cool stuff I had when I lived in the New York area. But the place I lived before this, there were no there were passenger trains like full-fledged railroad, passenger trains. I never rode them. But they did have, they had light rail and streetcars. And they were like 10 minutes from my apartment building. I could get on light rail or streetcar, and it was the bomb. After this episode, I'm going to play another 10, 15 minutes and call it a stream, probably.
This isn't the kind of place you're used to.
Nope, I'm used to things being a lot more serious.
Oh. Does that mean you don't like it here?
No,
actually, I want to check
means
something real
it's time for a change. Tanya, would you like to visit me at Shining Time Station?
Yeah!
Matt?
Yes, Mr. Cupper?
It's Harry. Would you please run and fetch me my toolbox?
And it's like, yes, like you can get me my tools, like, it's like that level of trust where it's like, okay, I trust this kid. He knows what to do. He knows how to safely handle my toolbox.
I think we're going to be friends.
I love how he takes off the suit. He's got the overalls. He's ready to get greasy and dirty right away.
It's hard to say exactly, but there's just something about this place.
Nah.
Reach for the speed, reach for the wisdom.
Gotta let the song play out.
Where the rail may run. Reach for the words, reach for the story, follow the rainbow sun. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true, waiting there for you. So much to see, so far to travel, so much to learn to know.
This song is so comfy.
Friends by your side, hopes to hold on to, who knows how far you'll go. To a shining time station, where dreams can come true. Your own
so when this came out in North America, when this came out in North America, Thomas had already been out on television in the UK for 5 years. So, alright, I'm gonna jump over back to... There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh, let's see, how far are we into this? I just happen to be on my, one of my footplate rides on the Bluebell Railway. Actually, I need to re-enable the music. And of course I get bamboozled right out the gate. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, I'm being a dork and jumping around to the music. Boom! Okay. Just wanted to smash that gate. Oh, I tried to... Oh, man. This game is tough. This is the toughest game I ever played. The toughest game I've ever played on stream and enjoyed and wanted to play more of. I think that's a better I like the specificity there. Yep, just in time to turn on that turbo. Oh no, okay. I thought the turbo was going to last like about a second longer. Oh yeah, this is going to be a recurring tradition for sure. Oh no. Oh, this is a trackside walk I did on the Bluebell. Yeah, this is... Yeah, you normally can't just walk down the right-of-way like this. They had to clear the trains. This is a special event they used to do like once a year at the most. And it was actually to raise money to build a shed to keep their carriages, the coaches in, that they were still restoring so they weren't getting rained on all the time and, you know, further deteriorating before they could actually do the restoration work on them. Boom. Yes, I have to say boom when I blow up the the enemy train. I have to get more scientific. Oh. Okay, I was looking at the train on the bottom track. I forgot I didn't look at the one in the middle one. That was a lovely episode. Yeah, that was the first episode. So that was the little introduction to the world and characters there. Oh, it got smashed. Got rear-ended. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. Okay. Yeah, I don't know why. It's just like so satisfying actually deliberately smashing into the enemy trains to destroy them. Oh, see, look, that was me. I focused so much on the upper screen, I forgot to look at the bottom screen. And I didn't quite have the time to... Now, it's kind of funny, because on the upper screen, you can clearly see where the bombs are actually falling, but that, like, doesn't matter on the lower screen. There's no, like, sense of depth when it comes to the lower screen. So that's interesting. Alright. Alright, well, 10 more minutes, we'll end it off at 8. Oh, my turbo ran off like the frame before I hit him. And, oh, there we go. Hey, Rolliet. You missed some Shining Time Station. But yeah, we're playing the first ever train-themed video game, celebrating its 40th anniversary this year. And as a birthday present, they finally gave it its first ever port to Sega Genesis. Oh, Reliot is saying that they're at a ramen bar with friends. Well, I hope you're having a good time. My favorite ramen place was Dojo on West 4th and Mercer in the New York University District in Manhattan, right off of Washington Square Park. I've been eating there since I was act literally a baby. And whenever I'm in the New York City area, I make sure I drop by and have a bowl. Whoop. Yeah, so I hope you enjoy your bowl of ramen. Yeah, I'd have to finish that sentence there because that could have certain connotations. Nothing nefarious, but I just wanted to make my intentions clear. This video's skipping too much. We're skipping to something else. Here we go. Oh wow, a Great Western 1400 class in an auto coach. Hold on. We gotta see that. We gotta see that. I love my Great Western 1400s. Do I use chopsticks? No, I have it. I just use a fork and a spoon like a normie. Yeah, I have some fine motor issues, and chopsticks don't come the easiest to me. You know, if I'd been training at it non-stop by actually living in Japan and not having too much of a choice, I could probably got a bit of a better handle on it, but just like how holding and controlling a pen or a pencil takes a bit more effort than it would for a typical person, and the results would kind of resemble that of a pre-K student if I take my time and very slowly, and the sort of amount of focus it takes to make movements that fine tend to end up making my hand and my lower wrist hurt. But all that is to say, yeah, I just use a fork, which is a lot easier to do in U.S. settings where you usually at least have the option to use a fork or a knife, whereas in Japan, you probably have to get the hang of it pretty quick or end up looking very, very out of place. Yeah, we smashed through that train. Yeah, it's not just sort of like a steam versus diesel thing that's going on here. It's most of the enemy trains are actually steam trains as well. Oh, and when I said this was ported to Sega Genesis, this is a Genesis port of the 1982 arcade game that just was released this year on the Genesis Mini 2 system. Boom! Nope. Yeah, grab that oil. Yeah, this has like elements of a shooter as a key. Boom! Yeah! Turned on the turbo at just the right moment, and the bombs mostly hit the bridge. But you gotta grab... No! I see, that was looking too much at the lower... I was looking too much at the upper screen. I forgot to check the lower screen to see... Because you have to check that lower screen to see when the oil's coming. Now, these trains right here, these the Great Western 1400 and the coach there, those were so cool because they were one of the more famous locomotives to use the, I guess, the auto train or auto coach system, which was, you could operate the locomotive, you could operate the train in reverse from a cab at the back of the coach and operate it going forward, and there was a series of sort of pulleys and linkages that you could operate the controls of the steam locomotive all the way from that end of the train. And it's kind of a forerunner, even in the steam era, to modern trains where you could have the locomotive on the far end of the train or in the middle of the train in between the passenger vehicles, and not have to turn the whole train around or put the locomotive on a turntable every time you got to the far end of the line. So even in the steam age, they recognize, you know, not having to move this locomotive to the other end of the train is pretty useful. Oh, there, gotcha. Gotcha. Oh. Gotcha. Okay. Gotta watch for opportunities to refuel down here. Oh. Had to use some oil there. Gonna take that lower track. Grab that oil. No, I couldn't get on that second track to get more oil. Oh, doggone. This game is fun. This game is fun. And we're almost out of time for today's stream. Actually, I just want to check something real quick. Yeah, let's yeah! Man, the track maintenance crews are gonna be like, what the heck happened on this line? Boom. Yeah. Oh, I pressed A instead of B. All I need, Clockboy saying all I need now is a train conductor hat and my stream will be fully themed. Yeah. I think this is about as far as I'll ever take it. I don't see myself ever actually dressing up or anything. I just destroyed a... Yeah, tried... Oh! I was so happy to have gotten the oil. I missed out on I forgot to hit turbo before I hit the red light. Oh! Yeah, I got the oil. Okay. What now? What now? Oh, you can't get me. You can't get me. Almost the bullet didn't have enough range for me to get the Zeppelin. Oh no! Okay. Alright. We're almost... Once we hit the game over on this run, I'll call the stream for the day. I'm gonna just drop some news on my next stream. And we made it to the station. Whew. Going to bonus scene. I know, time over. One airplane destroyed. Go on to next round. We're gonna play this round out until we get the game over. I wonder if it was complicated for them to work out how to program action, take these two different actions taking place simultaneously and corresponding to each other. This game, if there was such a thing as a game that deserved to be on Nintendo DS, this is absolutely it. Oh no, I overshot the oil. I have no chance. Oh no. Yeah, it got me. I only have one more train left after this, I think. I don't think you have a life zero, so to speak, in this, so I think that's game over. Yep, that's game over. And that is the stream. So I just want to drop credits to my... Oh, I need to make the... need to put the chat box above. And I need to put the alert box above. There we go. That's my next stream, and there's my credits. Yeah, so I'm gonna be back on Wednesday. I'll be playing Pokemon Puzzle League, and I've got the PDFs ready to go for the manual for Pokemon Puzzle League, along with the Nintendo Power episode, the Nintendo Power issue, which covered Pokemon Puzzle League. I probably won't get to it this next stream, but I also do have some other magazines from the time period covering Pokemon Puzzle League. And then after that, I'll be there on the 18th, just a couple of days later, for Pokemon Violet. I mean, the fact that I actually was willing to pay my own, to pay in advance for a modern Pokemon game, because Pokemon Legends Arceus, right? I got that game day one, but I had to go to I had to go on a little pilgrimage to a few different stores where I found a store that had a copy, because, you know, Pokemon games launch day, whatever. I didn't really think of it that way, because Legends Arceus was the first Pokemon game I got physically since Pokemon Black 2. And I don't remember, having to hunt around to get buy that game on Nintendo DS. And because I was carried my 3DS everywhere I went, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon X and Y and Sun and Moon. For Pokemon Y, I think I got. And for Pokemon Y and Pokemon Sun, I just downloaded them because I downloaded most of my 3DS games. But now I'm kind of savoring being on the tail end of the inevitable end of physical media even being an option. And I play, 90% of my Switch gameplay is at home. And now that I have a portable word processor, it's upside down because I have it so that when I open it, it's right side up to, facing out. But now that I have a portable word processor, and anywhere that I would have time to use my Switch, I'd always rather write than play video games for the most part, unless I'm streaming. So now that I have this, I rarely play my Switch outside of the house, so having physical cartridge isn't so much of an encumbrance as it was. But the point of all that is, for the first time ever, I've pre-ordered games before. I've not pre-ordered anything since the launch of Nintendo Switch, which I pre-ordered at the Nintendo NYC store because it was a big, crazy launch event at a flagship store, and you had to pre-order pretty much to guarantee your spot. But I pre-ordered a game for the first time in a long time, and it should be arranged for a delivery to my apartment the morning or afternoon of the game's release. And I'll have a Pokemon Puzzle League ready to go on the 18th in case it hasn't been delivered yet, so we can play that while we the way to twiddle our thumbs while we wait for the game to come, for those who will be joining me for that and not playing the game themselves. So yes, a knowingly hard game, the first ever train or railroad themed video game in gaming history that I'm aware of, and the first video game dedicated and related to trains that I've ever played personally, let alone on stream, and we got to have some comfy train stories and train videos as well. So I think that is all I could ask for a great stream. I had an amazing turnout today. Even for me, this is kind of an esoteric selection. So having such a great turnout and such an active chat was absolutely fantastic. Thanks for everyone who supported with channel points, with bits and follows, and just by lurking. So I will see you Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with some Pokemon Puzzle League, which is a game that I've wanted to play since before I started streaming. Before I started buying capture card stuff, I was like, I want to stream Pokemon Puzzle League. And now the opportunity's finally presented itself, now that it's available on Switch Online. We'll be reading the manual and some period magazine coverage. So I will see you next time for that, and thank you very much for watching, and have a great evening.